technique.
I want to show you guys something. You made me think of it. Looks like this. Like this. That's our roof. Like this. So what we're doing is we're teaching people to do that and then strike on it. So the hip movement doesn't stop. So you come up. And then if you do, face this way for me, our SIO is like this. Ooh, I was compared. Our SIO goes here. So it's not really a reversal so much, but it has this hip movement. So when you come out of that, into your kick. So here. So that our hip movement of our technique, like if I'm doing Sankyo, for example, you can kind of see my Sankyo here. And if I was to do Sankyo, or if I was to do the kick, either one is the same hip movement. So that we're teaching everything the same way. So if it's a Sankyo with a forward projection, projecting with the elbow, that would be this way, the same as my front kick is. So that the body's moving the same way, whether we're doing joint locks, kicks, punches. With the SIO with a hand strike, with a hand strike, it's just knife hands. Like this, because it's all the same hip movement. With, you can stay there. Udafuri, this way.
So, but with the hands up high in that high part, that's a Shomanuchi.
You could look at it that way.
I mean that's what that's what we know. Shomanuchi is the high.
Well, that's different because we're coming up here
and
right.
we turn right there and then we step out of it and drop.
We do it in our joint locking, for example. We do it as a way to off-balance that person. I stay balanced while you're off balance. So that would be like, for example, I high parry with with a hoppo, and then I turn it to low center with my side uno for the projection. Or, for example, come to high center to keep you off balance there with a hoppo uno. I drop it into my Nikyo, and I have the choice then. I can go SIO, or I can go Udafuri, either way. And for example, Sankyo, let's do the cross fist. Sankyo, I would go high parry over here, and then drop into a SIO, and then I can always change to the Udafuri. And when we change, we want to go from low center to high center, back to low, so you get that extra off balance and projection. So we do high center, low center with our SIO and our Udafuri.
This is since that exercise.
Spherical.
Spherical, okay.
That's why that exercise is.
What is spherical? That's the thing first I've heard that one.
It's what we have at the school. Mostly that's what I teach. It's hockey.
Okay, okay.
Dispersion.
Right.
Do you want to record the movie from center and all that for the G-Show?
That other one?
That other too many other kids here.
Yeah, sure. Okay, real quick. Is that what's recording?
Yeah, it's on record. I'll keep it in mind here.
Okay, so we start out like
Yeah,
regular.
do it for the camera.
Like the Japanese or the Korean styles like to do. So here's our L stance with our knife hand guard. We scoop, high center, and finish on the other side. So then out of that, we can come up and knife hand strike. We can come up and side kick. And it's all the same movement. Or we could be doing one of our joint locks, like right now I'm doing Sankyo. So the movement of the hips is the same regardless if we're doing hand strikes, kicks, joint locks, or even throws. With our throwing, it's harder to see here, but this is where we'd be loading up the throw and finishing here as the person falls here. So then Udafuri. Udafuri is like this. Come up. So, the one thing that you might notice is the breathing. This is standing meditation for us. We're inhaling as our hands come up and exhaling as they come out, whether it's Udo or Sayo. Our breathing is very important. So that when we're high centering, we're inhaling. When we're low centering or exhaling on these exercises, like if I'm projecting you, I'm projecting with my breath as well. So that it's all mind and body get together. It's that spirit wind idea. So if I'm doing Uda Furi, I'm practicing my hand strikes, I come out with my palm heel. I'm up, turn, easily can be a punch, whatever. Just like that. Now if I'm doing it with a kick, come up, and I turn all the way to squaring off my hips. So I come
Now,
up.
does the kick be part of your movement, or you stop and then kick?
It can't be completely a part of the movement unless it's a turning kick.
Well, you're teaching an exercise, that's why I want
Right.
to, you know, do you do all this turning and then stop, and oh, yeah, I got to kick?
That's what the front kick looks like.
The front kick has to pause, because if not, we kick over here. It keeps the circle going. Right. So if I'm going to teach it as a turning kick, if it's fine, but I can't stop on my line unless my turning kick is to the same direction as my Uda Furi. If I kick here, I can finish. Or maybe I should be doing it that way.
That's why I want to do all this real clarifying with our movement,
Right.
what we're trying to accomplish, with our movement. You know, what does it mean to move on center with this? And then how are techniques, since you're talking about strikes and kicks, how is that
If I'm-
presented from that movement?
If I'm doing a
Maybe look
turning
at the
kick,
thing and think, well, we can't do that, we got to do this.
doing turning kick online, I'm okay. If I do the outside aim pressing kick online, I'm okay. So I think it depends on which kick I do. Maybe I shouldn't do the front kick at all in that exercise.
Well, or there's something we haven't thought of yet, that will say, okay, we can do it this way, and still stay within the principle of the movement.
I can also kick on the line with a front kick. That also doesn't break principle of the
That doesn't break principle, so that means that you're gonna be, can you translate that though with a complete turn and then get the kick and still be able to stay correct?
Right.
Because you just did it by doing three-quarter turns.
I can do, right, I can come to the front and do whatever kick I choose and set down, but to come all the way to here and get the kick sends me for too much of a circle.
Where
Okay,
am
so
I
that tells me,
pondering that? If I was the attacker,
If you're facing me and I come up and I come through and finish here, that makes sense,
Yes.
movement. But if you're facing the mirrors, this is how I've actually had it designed, is for me to come around to here and kick. And Zoka's noticing, and you notice too, that my hips stop and then I kick.
on front kick anyway. Yeah,
On front
because you had, yeah.
right,
But if you're standing there and I do a turning kick, I can come around and I'm good. So I think it's, the target changes based on what kick you're using.
But you're spinning way out there, and but I'm still over here. Did you turn your back on the opponent?
Oh, no, it's no,
It's
no,
just
no,
that
no.
exercise.
It's not a self-defense technique.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
not a self-defense, it's to get the hips moving. We're just getting the hips
it's
moving.
an exercise to teach proper movement
Right.
in center, so that the hips, really, because it's that movement that generates the power for the hip.
So if I'm doing Sayo, here's my knife hand, right? Here's Sayo, here's a hook kick. Right, same
Yeah,
movement.
back kick, hook kick, round
And if
out.
you kind of give me a target for a side kick, same thing. Come in, yeah, here's my side kick, all the same hip movement. So I think maybe the front kick is what we have to change, because the front kick going that way didn't make sense. The front kick going that way would.
Yeah.
So all my targets really ought to be on the line that I'm traveling. And then my hip movement won't have to change.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we fixed something there.
See how this is helping?
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you review it, you'll see it even more.
But when you start looking at it, wait a minute,
My new students do what you did. They're like, why would I do all that spinning? No, 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 no. It's not a self-defense technique. This is just
If
knowing
I
how to
wanted
move
to
your
shuffle.
body.
so this is
Right?
keto, the Uda and all that.
Right.
That's a part of demonstrating the principle, but, and you use that when you do the technique, but the actual technique doesn't mean spin, spin, spin.
Right.
Like you saw those Korean students a few months back, I said,
Yeah.
what does this look like? And you said keto. Of course, they were spinning in, spinning out.
Yeah. And you don't really spin across the room to get to the guy, just like you wouldn't do a running side kick across the room, running flying side kick to hit a guy. But the principle is good, the idea. And then I didn't do Hoppo yet, I should do that. So Hoppo, we do key finger, knife hand bow to remind us through all of our techniques. We use our key finger and our knife hand. We don't do takubi. We do a knife hand in place of takubi. And we do the key finger to point the direction of where we're taking it. So key finger, knife hand bow, opens up to a cradle. We do about 4 of these typically. And we go do a high cradle. Our high cradle is just vertical alignment of the fingers. Just like this. We draw in, we go 1 shuffle, 2, other direction, 1, 2, to the right, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1,
So you're
2.
going off in each direction.
Yep, it's Hoppo, so it's 8 direction. And then back to center, and we keep ourselves centered over our axis. Go back to our cradle. And our high cradle. And then we do this big circle to here and back. So the Hoppo paragraph would be anytime I bring my hips forward, but they don't change position.
So it's just a shuffle.
It's just a shuffle. And see, all I did was shuffle, high center, and turn. That was my detail. Shuffle, high center, and turn. So that's a Hoppo application. From here, I can continue Hoppo with shuffling, or I can switch to a different rhythm. So, and some of the other things that are really subtle in the Hoppo, the cradles, right? I have to do a cradle. If I'm doing a, doesn't really matter. If you give me like a showman, and I just bring it to cradle. So from there I can even change direction again if I want to. But the cradles are in this, and the high cradles are in the Hoppo Udo. So we high cradle to get into position, we low cradle to get into position for whatever we have here, for example. And then forward and back shuffling. So if I shuffle here and then I shuffle back, I've done 2 Hoppo movements to do the takedown. One to get you off balance this way and one to get you. So that's how the Udo works. Oh, and then so as a striking application, it's your basic push, step, drag idea. In Hoppo it looks like this. In application it would be like this. It might be something like this, but my hips don't change orientation. So it could be a kick. Like Hapkido, we do twisting kicks.
Yeah.
So we do that kind of thing out of our Hoppo because it doesn't change the orientation of our hips to our opponent.
Hoppo, what's Hoppo?
It means 8 directions.
8 directions, okay.
And the reason we do the Hoppo that way for 8 directions is because at this point, when I want to off balance you, I use those directions. I decide which direction makes the most sense for my technique. So doing the Hoppo teaches the students to go, okay, if I go to this angle, what do I have? Well, if I go to the other angle, what do I have? So then they learn to move around the floor without thinking about the angles.
Then, yeah, they're going for the technique.
Right.
You have the feel.
Well, it just fits in there, yeah, it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Right, and if I move myself with good undo, you're going to be off balance. So what I do as a technique doesn't really matter at that point as long as you're off balance.
Well, that's part of the principle.
Yeah.
Every block, strike, moves, whatever stance, whatever it is, everything you do should cause the rookie to go farther out of balance, out of center. So as long as you're moving and maintain your center, and that's why we need to identify how do we accomplish that with each style. Everything we do keeps them out of center. You don't just block, it stops them. You do it in such a way that it makes them twist out of alignment. You want to break their alignment, tip them over, ears, past shoulders, all that kind of stuff. You want to create that with your movements, and if your movement is correct. Because I always say, if you're on center, they're out of center, they're out of balance. If you're out of balance, they're in balance. In judo, when they go to step in and do their throws, if they are out of balance, the guy that they're throwing is going to be able to counter if he's at all aware of what's going on and knows it. So maybe you want to demonstrate some of that with your
Sure. So for the water principle part of Hapkido, if the force is coming toward me, I let it come toward me. I'm doing a furry movement. So I'm letting the force come this way, and this is obviously our furry movement. But if the force is coming the other way, you know these are new.
You want to use Armando for a new key?
Armando's never taken
Well,
it
then you
either.
can see what's going on.
That's fine.
I mean, it doesn't matter to me either way, I just.
Well, it looked like he,
Sometimes it's easier to see when you're not the one being thrown.
well, I like to feel being thrown, but I felt that you, when you came in, I felt that you, and at first I thought I was going to a kite nagi,
Right?
but it wasn't. It was more of a, because you did reach around the shoulder, you reached around the whole body,
Right.
and and it was a hip throw.
It's hip throw. That's all it was.
And that's what I
Almost.
felt.
Okay, well,
But let me
you
try to.
better feeling the throw than reach like him. 'cause
Yeah.
I'd rather have you throwing than to lie.
I'll clean that up a little bit anyway. That's fine. What I want to do is, when he's coming forward, remember you're giving me something to work with. When he's coming forward, I really want high center, so that then when I low center this back to here, that gives us the throw.
Yeah.
So high center, low center, open and
Go ahead and just do that natural.
Okay.
Just like I said, we're gonna videotape everything and then I will post that so you can watch it.
Let's do it off a punch, because then you're kind of moving.
Yeah, I give you a little momentum there.
Yeah.
Right punch.
Let's do it.
Oh, sure.
Okay. That's the idea. The idea is that he punches, I don't stop him from punching. Just take him in for throw.
Let him go where he's already going.
Now,
Right direction.
So that's you're just hooking.
yep. All I'm doing is my high center, and I'm doing an utafuri. If you watch just my body, I'm doing that. So I'm high centering, low centering.
You're just stepping so the hip is there so you have to go over.
So I'm putting myself in line, or you're putting yourself in my line of travel.
Right, exactly. So that I'm just extending you a little beyond where you're comfortable going, so that then you're off balance and I give you something to
All
follow.
of a sudden it's too late. You're wrong.
Yeah. So if I, so just from a static, I'm gonna create, am I gonna step back to create?
Step back.
In this case, yep.
And then you were coming here.
I think I went around the waist.
Oh, yeah, you were under the arm, and then here.
Yeah, only feet together.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah,
my.
it is, this is-
Right.
You might not know how that-
I don't do Joseph. I just do throw.
That's it. Your hand and foot come together, right into throwing.
In Jukido, you would step like you did, step back and then do an arm cut down. Or you could have gone with the kite on that side.
Oh, I
shoulder
over
throw.
over
Over
here.
this arm.
Yeah.
You want to do that?
You- Kite
Well,
on side, shoulder
It's the
throw.
same movement, whatever technique you're using. It's the
It's-
same.
What you're used to using,
Well, what I'm used to using kiting would have been from
Oh, this
that
side.
punch here would have been here. But I have in zombie drill went from the punch there and then actually come in and did the kiting from the other side.
Go
So
ahead.
it takes a little bit for me to remember, but see if I come in there, but then I locked in here.
right there, and then just kneel forward.
Yeah, I was gonna say, then I'm just
Take
gonna
the
step
forward.
it.
Very good.
Yep, that's right.
But see,
Correct.
that's when we worked on the principle of quit dealing with the punching hand, deal with the other
Yeah,
hand.
that's following Jukido principle.
Now,
What
if
you
you-
just did, that's following the principles of Jukido,
I got one.
the real Jukido.
If you do
Okay,
the same
go
thing
ahead.
off my left punch, it's the same thing. So if I come in left punch, no, I mean just do it on the
Oh.
side. Do everything on this side.
Oh, sure. So here.
Right there.
Right there.
Step, drop.
Yep.
There you go. That's Jukido. That's what's missing from what Soka Ken was teaching, that Steve said this is Jukido and he does it different now. I think that's why you didn't fit in when you were there trying to do Jukido, because they're not doing the same Jukido.
So begin.
You mentioned that a while back. Now,
Yeah. Oh, the
yeah.
snake hand stuff. I'm going. Where's this going? Are you
Right.
familiar with that technique, the snake hand? It's something along. It reminds you of an Ikeo, but it's. I mean, it's so awkward. I can't even imagine trying to do it. But I'm going. The whole time I'm trying to do this, I said, that guy's gonna be thrilled. I said, is it set me up for something further down the road that I need to know? And he couldn't answer. But I said, isn't that in theory?
Yeah, that could be Nikio real easy. I mean,
But I
that's
said-
my first thought.
And
You got it, they're holding on, why let them get away?
they were, and it had to do something with the way you walked it through, or maybe try from across that way. I think it was somewhere the way they were getting it.
Well,
It was just,
with this, if they grab straight across here, you would take your left side and do the tighten. And if they grab straight across on your left side, then you just do this and do kiting from the other side.
We did it from the principle of, if they're hanging on to this side, that arm's occupied, so why not?
Right,
Why not
the
take
other arm,
crazy arm?
right.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that's,
and I think
That's right.
that started, I think, with a visit from your brother one time. You and him started going, you don't always have to deal with
Right.
the striking
Right.
hand.
yeah, they got it so well, you know, do what you want.
Yeah, it's a really surprise when someone's not there and they're taking that other hand.
Yeah.
They're going, okay, what happened? It's like, what, I wasn't expecting that.
Well, especially he's reaching out, his energy's going there, so you just allow him to follow you. Leading energy, the Aikido principle, leading. And then you step in with the kite under this other arm, drop and do your kite.
Because right now the chitin, in theory, I'm redirecting, but unless I'm gonna come in and just grab tight with a punch, I feel like I'm in harm's way if I try to stay alive, unless I redirect the arm
Yeah.
around.
Well, as soon as grab, I'm leading. Okay, and just do Buddha over here, right, and then drop. If we do that and then just drop,
It's,
you already got a hold of it. He's got a hold of you, so he can't hit you with it.
yeah, that's what
I
we
mean, if
said.
that were a punch coming in, you're blocking here, taking it over.
We know where it's at. Yeah, if that was a punch, you'd be like,
You're
good block.
controlling the attacking weapon.
Tracking block.
Yeah. I had a buddy who teach me, he was a white crane.
Hey, oh yeah, they like to do that.
He was
Yeah.
real good at, he trapped you in the elbow with a punch and he locked out.
Right.
And the other thing he did was push your fist in this way.
That's a Hoshin thing.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
The whole time they fight, you push your arm against you,
Yep.
and then,
Yeah, exactly.
what is happening?
Why'd you do that to me? Let me show you the other half
Go
then.
ahead.
Because we did if he's giving me forward momentum, I do an Udafuri projection. Now if he's not, if he's pulling back the other way,
Okay, now what's the fall?
the same thing.
Same thing.
But you're going to kind of flip where you stand.
Almost a rotary.
It's a room, yeah. So if I'm coming in now, I come in and do this. Ooh, yeah, I don't know if you should take that. And put your arm down, it scares me.
Oh.
Yeah, you don't need to put your hand down. It's just a basic hip throw.
Yep. And the movement then anyway, to show for
Well, go ahead, at least set it up.
okay. So as you're bringing me in, I'm letting you bring me in, but I'm doing that high center here. And as I come in and set up my throw, as I come to low center, I have the throw here, but I finish it by popping and stepping out. So that the whole movement is me moving this direction. And halfway through my movement, you're flipping.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. It's hard when you have an uki for it,
Go
but it's
ahead.
pretty cool.
Grab your sword.
I can say I'll watch that one.
Yeah. Let me show you both of them again then. So, Armando, I want you to take a step back. Give me a punch to my nose. No, give me the right punch. Come on in. Whoosh. There. So there's our forward projection. Now if he's grabbing and pulling me toward him with that hand, here we go. I'm going to step into it and step right out of it. So that the movement is the direction he wants me to go. Okay. So as he pulls, high, and step out and run. Right on to the next guy, so to speak. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You're just buddies.
So I'm fighting Armando, and I got somebody behind him there, and when I'm ready for that person, I step right up to it. Because that's the hip movement for Sayonara.
And so you're doing that because he was pulling you.
Yep, water principle. If he goes toward me, I project Udafuri. If he pulls me toward him, I do Sayonara.
You know what I'm doing?
Yeah, sure. Same way you said. So he pulls like that.
Just jump right into him.
Yeah, there's no resistance. You don't get a tug of war kind of.
Right. And that time I did a neck throw because he was in this position, so where I was there.
So yeah, your idea is, like I said, the power principle is the blend.
Yep. Another really simple way to show that, go ahead, is he pulls, and if I step in here and I do a silo, there's my takedown. In Hapkido, when we spar, that's what we're going for. We're actually just going for the takedowns here. So we don't really care about the technique. We want to do our hip movement right. He comes toward me and kind of push with this hand. Hayatoshi, Udafuri style. He goes away from me. I can do inside reap in my Udafuri style. See how those are always either Udafuri or Scio?
But he's, yeah, whether, it depends on whether you read, he's coming toward or pulling you.
Switch leads for me so I can show it this way. I can come here, and even though I'm doing an Udafuri movement, I can reverse back to Scio. See how we can start movement and turn into a different one. So we're always using one or the other, but it's just the movements that you drill from white belt that give you those takedowns. So it doesn't have to be any particular technique, but like he's off balance, so I did an arm cut down,
Yeah.
and I did that one actually Hapa Undo style, just slid. So we learn those 3 basic Undo, and then find something while we're sparring, because our goal is takedowns. We don't spar tournament style, because that doesn't mean anything.
It's not getting any of the results.
Right. So the way we score points, go ahead and actually spar with me. The way we score points is we can kick and punch in the body. It's not a point. But a kick to the head is a point, or a takedown is a point. So you're going for either a kick to the head or a takedown to the floor.
Where did you get that round up? About one on his own, didn't he?
Right.
Didn't wait for you guys.
So the reason the kick to the head is a point is because this is Korean. It's
You must be making a statement.
So that high kicks.
Yeah. Or low
Yeah.
kicks. For that matter, I get him in here. This is a point. A knee kick to the face as he comes down. There's a point. I don't even have to take him to the floor. It's not
Yeah.
hitting the head. So, yeah, give me something like this. Because I come in, if I hit him, that's not a point because it's my hand. That's a point. 'Cause he took him down.
Okay, so backtrack one little bit. Stand off just a little bit to the side, because we're doing this with camera. You come back over and center and you go through the basic exercise that led you into making all that possible.
Okay, those were both Udafuri movements. So, Udafuri looks like this. So what I did to Armando was come forward with my punch to his head, which would be out of this Udafuri movement. And then I did 2 steps, 1, 2 of Udafuri with the knee lift
Knee lift behind leg.
behind the leg, and that's what's displaced his hips and
Okay,
sent him
good.
back. Yeah. So Udafuri, even though we're doing it on this line, what makes it Udafuri is our hip coming forward. So any technique where our hip is coming forward is Udafuri. But if our hips stay in the same orientation, we shuffle, we call that Hapo, forward and back.
If it's a straight line move, it's Hapo. If it's Uda, it's the hip coming around,
Yes.
not the hip going back.
Hip going back is our style.
Okay, good, because that we didn't, I kind of knew that in my brain, but I
Yeah.
have to watch it and think, okay, that's not.
You and I have talked
By
about
saying that, we clarify it on here.
Jukido,
See on
Say on
Jukido would say, here's our Udafuri. Oh, I better do it when they're paying attention.
Got that Korean slang.
the.
Okay, so Udafuri for Jukido, here, right?
Yep.
Scio for Jukido, here.
And you end up with Kokyu and all those
Right.
variational groups
Yeah.
and all that.
So if you watch what you're doing in there, your reversal tends to be, not always tends to be, this, and that's what our Scio is,
That's ours too.
this movement.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That's where you step in, you got centrifugal, you wrap them around you, then you do the Scio and you project them away from you.
I visualize that as a punch coming at me here, and then here.
Same thing.
it is the same thing.
Same thing. Cool.
Cool. So, for example, Armando, I come through, I go, okay, I got my high center, and I'm doing my Scio Undo. Here's my Scio. I go, okay, Udafuri for my forward projection.
Are you watching those round now?
If I wanted to go, let's say,
You wait, you guys anymore.
let's say I'm doing chitin, here's my Udafuri for this takedown,
Going forward.
right? Change my mind, Scio,
You went back.
and I have that.
But yeah, it's all on.
What we're doing is
All
putting
on the line.
together.
And actually, that was kind of a sloppy demonstration of it because I ended up
Squares you put on the floor, we'll talk about how
I
they.
ended up kind of coming around and then redirecting
So
to
we're
straight
trying to
back,
identify
which is actually
how
straight
we
back.
want
It's actually
to
Hapo.
What does
Oh,
it mean?
okay.
See what I mean? It's subtle, but.
So that we're identifying it.
So here, I've got him in my
moving the
shield.
center around.
If I continue the same circle, I've got a Scio.
We moved our center.
If I redirect it, I have a
Here.
Udafuri, but it's still
So
the
we
shield
moved over
taking.
there and over here, you know. we
So
want to
it's really
identify
cool when you
that's
see
we
how
want to center in.
The options are completely unlimited now. It's like,
In Hoshin.
do whatever you want, as long as he's
or
off balance and you're balanced, you're good.
Chishin or
I start to go
moving on
Detail.
center.
So I do that.
Different.
High center, drop to here,
Even though
like,
we're
okay,
doing the same
change
thing with the
direction.
body, but we're-
Now I'm low center on my
we're
code
standing
again.
one place,
It's not
jump
working
up,
well.
spin,
I go high
spin,
center,
kind of thing,
second,
we're
and
moving
move for
around.
projection on that one. Or,
Moving on center.
same thing, I drop it to here.
So that's what we're trying to
No,
identify.
it's not going well. I high center,
What kind of.
and I step through side windows. See how those,
See, that's one thing.
One thing that, maybe don't bother you now, having
It
a
just
lot.
offers if you keep
It's all time.
option of the hip throws.
Riding
Yep.
masters, all the
Yep.
big.
I like that. And you might notice that, like when we're doing this sort of stuff, these are easier takedowns, right?
Pick up stretch with
If
the
I-
right
Game
leg,
changers as much.
If I push and pull, and when I pull, whoops, I missed it. If I pull at the right time,
Anyway.
I get a takedown with nothing but a waving kick.
Yeah.
I don't have to do a hip throw. But some guys, kind of like Armando, they give you more of a hip throw than they do. He stays pretty well centered probably from pushing. So as I go to tangle this up, if he's firm, step right.
As you say, because you were really reaching in to try to take the reach.
Yeah, he's kind of sprawling on me a little bit.
Yeah, well, yeah, he was like this, and you were far enough away. You were really reaching in to get that reach. And I always thought the reach, ideally, was supposed to come off, but the guy who's got that lead leg.
Right. And really, you made a good point because what I did was close in, and because I was closing in, I kept going that way with my side over. Instead of stopping and throwing him this way, which I did the first time, which felt more awkward. Since I had to really get in there, I decided to just keep going that direction. See what I mean? I'd step through this.
Walk through that one again when you do it again.
So we're here. We're here. I'm not able to get in real clean. I'm worried about him taking my center, so instead, I take my center to him, and since I'm going there anyway, I keep going that way.
Okay.
Keep my side out on.
Yeah, but when you hit him up, then you went in the side.
This is steady. I make sure he's off the ground, and then I can keep my hips. And when I move my hips, you might say, okay, the throw is done when he's off the ground. Except that when I move my hips, I also move my shoulders. And that finishes the throw. High center to low center in this movement.
Is it as important when you're doing the hands always stay in front of the body? Sorry for what you're doing.
Oh, no, you're right. It's always in front.
Yeah.
For example, knee throw. I come here, my hands are in front of me. Go ahead and hold it. My hands are in front of me. I turn, my hands are still in front of me. I drop, my hands are still in front. I change to that Kotegaeshi, high center, hands are in front of me. Low center, they're in front of me. Never do my hands go here. So when I'm doing my throws, going this way, I go here, see how I'm here, I turn with my hands.
And you hold your hand back in front of you.
Yeah. Well, no, my hand never leaves the center of my body.
I have to say, well, when you reach back around it, that's where.
See, I'm here on the center. Oh, this hand.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I got you. Well, I have to get
Yeah, you got to get position,
position for the throw.
and then your idea is the technique will work when you put your hand back in front.
This hand is my focus. I
Okay.
guess. You're right. They want to go together, but depending on the girth of your opponent, you're not going to, or your technique. If you did it like this, maybe, your arm cut now, they can stay in front.
But the principle is to line your hands back up as quickly as
Yeah.
possible, which in turn is the same line.
Right.
You're going high hand.
Well, so you just demonstrated, once you've got the hand around up through the shoulder blades, all of a sudden your hands are here again, just like sword.
Yes.
That's a good point because obviously I'm trying to keep this hand right in my center, but this hand has to get around him and then catch up.
And when it catches up, it's right back in front, and the technique's already half to 3/4 of the way completed.
The way the white belts practice that is this.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter if that hand wraps around and goes back, because you still end up with that line.
Right.
See,
And what's interesting, if you look at it, next time he does it, when his hands come back into alignment, Yuki's off balance.
Yeah, that's just it.
They totally
When
fine.
he left it here and come around, and he was off balance when he got into here. When he started bringing him around, he was off balance.
Right.
And you're going, okay, my focus hand, back to focus hands, and then by then, he's already airborne.
True. And for spirit weight, we think of that as our sword cut, right? But you can also think of that as your roll.
Aikido roll.
Right. It's the same idea.
Now in judo, and you've seen it, you probably have seen this with the guys who did it class a few times. When you step into judo, they're coming around here, The only alignment they have is here. That's not gonna accomplish the throw because he's never off balance.
And
This
I am
requires
if I'm like
strength.
this. If I'm in this
Yeah.
position, I'm way off balance. My opponent has the
Well,
advantage.
you're definitely out of alignment, so
So
the
we
guy's
want,
standing there, he's standing there, you're stepping into the throw.
I'm going like this.
Yeah, he's out of balance the whole time, and if I know how to keep myself standing up, he's never gonna get the technique. I can counter real easy because he's the one off balance. And you see that in judo all the time. Now, if they do it correctly, then you'll see this. If they do judo correctly, it'll be like this.
Collar and elbow.
His hands came back into proper alignment, and all he had to do to execute his technique was cut.
Well, you know, and I've actually shared that with my ukis that I work with. That I think I want my hands to come back in front of me. And, you know, whether I'm doing the next row or whatever, I always try to bring a hand, you know, the grabbing hand back in front.
Yep. That's what was kind of frustrating to me when your little buddy over there in Syracuse, he doesn't seem like he wants to learn anything.
Yeah, he's just kind of entertaining you.
Yeah, I figured he was just,
That's kind of what I felt. That, oh,
if you can't do the throw properly,
Airplane throw.
Airplane first.
if your alignment is incorrect with your hands, you're never going to get your body in alignment. You're not going to execute the technique unless you're using strength.
I think the one thing that's probably most out of it, yeah. He did a little Aikido there.
Is that from
No, he's still white belt.
All right.
We filmed him, and he was one of the two lost out there on his first match. But
I know.
Great balls if you want, Matt.
He
If you want to warm up.
take something from what we did. Because him and Uki lost. And he understood
Oh,
about,
sure.
okay, and he also understood, you know, I said, if you try to put your hand back in front when you make it round, I said, that will automatically tie you in.
So we didn't do that part yet. I almost brought my table. There is a band, you know, you remember the Matt Naber, the Big S hook? They have a thing now, it's a question. I like that. Amazon.com.
Good.
They're $6 a piece.
You guys are all.
I bought 2 of them. I did it this week.
Didn't get too hot.
It's just, we did this Big S hook over here, I'm not using that one.
Right.
I can put here and put it wherever I want. So I bought 2 of them, one for me and one for a little old lady in the speedway. She's got this spot every time. She wants me to work on it, she won't wait on me in line.
Right.
Just, I'll get you in a minute, Doc. She shoves my stuff away and I know then I might well just take that and go over there because I'm gonna be opening my office. I say, I'll go open the office.
And we're all around us.
You all right?
Oh, yeah.
there's
Katsu time.
Yep.
Guess we should have.
I know. Max gonna have to practice on me or something. 'Cause I need something.
See, he's got his belt right. That's cool. He's got 3 strikes on there. Josh and I, or Todd and I were talking about it on the way over because he thought 1 strike, 2 strike, 3. I said, no, it's 3, 2, 1.
Yep. Deep breaths.
We got kids on the way and everything else, so I want to make sure they can get a hold of me.
Oh, you didn't bring your phone in?
I don't think so.
I don't remember seeing it. Yeah, mine's on the desk. Mine's nice, it stays charged for 3 days or more.
There we got it.
Yay. Persistence.
Apparently, I got it in my bag somewhere.
It's ringing from there, yeah.
Is it?
I think so, but our mom isn't.
Oh, well, maybe it's his.
Maybe.
I don't know, let me check.
Too many phones
I
and
could.
sounds.
Maybe your phone was calling his phone.
Thank you. Thought about it.
All right, you're good. Yeah, that is bad.
They usually won't call my text.
Yeah, I think it's already
Well, maybe it's not.
Smart. Let's switch it over.
Well, that's
That's all you really need.
you text those kind of problems.
Yeah, pretty crazy. The paint is something you guys saw.
No, actually, not on the oldest one.
Oh, yeah?
She's out on her own now.
And it really is the shoulder thing that gets that. It's
It
not so
is.
much you should have to crank the head all the way around.
Uh-huh.
It's just get the shoulder, get that tension in there.
Alana and I have been rocking this back slowly, and you can see the shoulder come up
Yeah,
because it's tight.
that's right.
So once we get this back where we feel like it's against the floor, we just, so we're not really doing with this so much. Mostly we're just 1 and 2 now.
That's how I do it now. I do this on Joe. That seems to really work better than trying to get the head,
Right.
roll the head on. Just put the traction on there.
Right.
And just push the shoulder back where it's supposed to be, and it always seems to work really good.
So, just go ahead and hit my spine real quick. Well, if we're not going to start at the top and go all the way down, I'm fine with that. We'll get what we need to do. You're so nice. Go ahead and do it like
A little more
some
pressure.
All right.
Press bounce.
Yeah, much better. Back up. No, I'm okay. Thanks.
Did this, should look at the first time, yesterday morning, we'll see, how you do it back in.
First time I did kiatsu, my dad, because he broke his neck in high school football. So it's always been tense. You know, he's
Oh, yeah.
70
Natural,
years old now.
you
Yeah.
know, fear.
Yeah. Yeah,
Nice that
constantly.
stays tight and protected.
And he cuts
So
hair.
you're happy.
And he cuts hair like this. So his
Oh,
straps are always under tension. So, I mean, it hurts so bad he wanted to cry. But then when he got done, he could actually move his neck and his shoulders. Do that again. No matter how much it hurt.
Oh, not saying you need a haircut, but.
Right. You want your rib in? before we go any further?
Yes, sir.
All right. Here's something I've been doing differently too, and a lot of stuff.
This is another technique, yeah.
We usually pull up here to isolate and push here, but a lot of it I have been just pushing down on this side of the hip. It does the same thing. Yeah. There's one.
You're being too nice. But you got 3.
You got 3 of them?
There.
Did they find a trigger point?
Uh-huh.
See my right elbow in.
I said, when you see the foot flail, like, oh.
Yeah, I must have done something right.
Like finding the sweet spot on a dog.
Right. Hey, you asked for this, don't lie.
Oh, great. Oh, Lord.
Boy, that's tight.
Yeah, well, it's only been a while.
Yeah.
Joey's not real good at some of this.
This side's never as bad. Oh, there, we just pushed one in.
Sometimes take the tension out and then they pop in.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Let's just double check.
Actually, I was gonna bring in that paint eraser book and
So good.
and Living the Marshall Way.
Oh, that's right.
It was interesting. Like I said, I read those small facts.
Yeah, you're better. You want me to work your hip too?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Either one side worse or better than the other.
Your right's not great.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Let's see if I can get this. Higher, lower, inner?
No, that don't hurt, that's.
Good, well then we got it. That's
You
good.
don't want to push it out, so.
Yeah, right? That ain't broke, don't fix it.
Because they broke, don't broke.
Yeah. You look like you have more oxygen to your body.
Well, I had red in the face, huh?
Yeah.
That's just reflection.
Is that what it is? That's the reflection of the Santa Claus.
Oh,
So flawless.
Yeah, there you go. That's good. So look at your business coming.
Joey gets stuff kind of, but he's not a Piazza person.
Right.
He doesn't, he'll get in there with a little pressure and he'll hand off.
Right.
Joe, just lean on it, do CPR with your thumb, you know.
One thing I say, my wife can take it off. Just she'll put it apart. Hey.
Yeah, it's like, oh, thank you.
Okay,
Very good.
Matt.
Awesome.
I want to record you doing your Dodon Ryu Jiu-Jitsu footwork.
Is it still recording?
Yes.
Good.
So, right in the middle of the mat there. Do a line. You already want me to use yours. Keep it tight. There you go. Make sure your big toes are in line, not too far spread apart. There you go. And then shift 180. There you go. Stay centered, stay on the ball of your foot. Go ahead. Go back and forth. Okay. So the idea, keep going.
You can do it, I'm ready.
The idea is that your center stays right here the whole time. So Max hips and shoulders ought to be rotating on the same side.
Yeah, he's up and down, kind of like a
Yeah.
carousel horse. He's
So
going up and down, he really shouldn't.
stay level, and you don't want to move your hips forward. It takes you this and that, and you don't want to be up and down in your stance.
There you go. Just pivot around, don't raise up.
There, now we're getting way back.
Yeah. And the way to test that, when you're walking, get the stick here, and then go, and then just walk. Proper stance is pivot.
On a tightrope, right?
And then, yeah, you're on a tightrope, but you don't go up and down,
Right.
you don't weeble wobble, you just go straight. Videotape or look in the mirror and see if you're tipping and all that, because if you are, then as soon as you realize you tip, you're out of balance.
Right.
It might only be just a couple degrees, but you're still out of balance. And so you want to get your movement without bopping up and down. Reason yourself.
Okay, try moving up. Take it forward steps. There you go. And back. So stay down one level now. So first Mac was keeping his center on center. He didn't move his center at all. Now he's moving his center forward and back, but he's keeping his shoulders squared over his hips.
Well, that's why the videotape, I'll get this, and I won't publish it, I'll just put it private on Facebook, send you guys the links and you can watch.
So you want to not move up and down, but when you're moving forward, you want to move forward, but you want to move forward
But you
without.
want to be one solid
Yeah.
unit moving forward, not tipping or move your hips and drag your shoulders back over you. You know, which we'll do that a couple times. You move your hips, but your shoulders were kind of like this and then you teeter back up. Hips, hip, hip, shoulder, hip, shoulder. You want to just be straight.
Right.
And how do you practice that? There's a neat way with clothes. Practice by yourself. You just hold it here by here, and then you step. And if you see the thing bend, you know you moved wrong. And on the other one, you put it here. You just go through and do your moves, you know, and make sure that you're keeping the ball level. And you keep doing it with the bow as you're watching until your brain has learned the proper pattern for moving. That will improve your technique a lot with your throwing, kicks, and stuff. That'll improve, and then you get to where, and I can't do it on this, can't do it standing over, can I? But you've got it here, and then you step, then you turn, make your pivots, and you watch your bow. If you have a way to videotape, you guys can do that. As you videotape and see if everything stays on a straight line, you can maybe take a chalk line or some tape and just run a straight line across. And then that kind of gives a line of reference too, and then you can look at that and check in the camera and say, okay, it did it or didn't or whatever. I don't know what's extreme probably, but you can watch what you're doing. You can take a ruler on the screen and go from one end of the bow to the other in the picture, and then put the ruler right on it. If it's tipped, like, oh, okay, they're not straight. You know, and that's how you begin to identify common mistakes in your stances and your transition moves with your stances. Because if we say, okay, in jiu-jitsu, we move this way to maintain center, this is what we mean by moving on center in jiu-jitsu, then that's how you test it. Stick a bow in your shoulder, in your elbows like that, and then have it where you're holding it with it next to your body, and then as you move, you'll see if it tips or stays straight on center. So that's just a simple test that you can do to see if you're moving correctly. And after your brain gets comfortable with the correct movement, then all of a sudden you begin to use that. It's like when you learn to walk after you learn how, you know, you start to look about that.
Let's do the Obushi setup. So, block, counter. That's what you should. Just throw him the way he was headed. Alright, so let's make sure that when you're coming out of here, like I'm on this line right here. Coming out of here to here, we're not changing our center. And then we're going to move our center into their center further left. So it's 1, 2 on the same side. Move the center. How are we doing there?
You're doing good, because what you're doing to maintain your center is you're going from the first step and your pivot into a straddle stance or whatever it is, and then when you pivot in and reach around the attacker, whether it's high, low, or whatever, you change from centering with your hips to centering with your hands. In other words, the correct placement of your hands, so all you do is your cut. And what you've ended up with then is a very good throw. And see right there, you're maintaining your hips and shoulders in center because your hands are correct. If you were using your hands with strength wrapped around the guy's hip, or waist, or neck, go ahead and do it that way. Go ahead, if you would, since it's step in and just stand there and be able to step in and do the typical judo muscle throw kind of thing.
Okay, so if I'm coming in.
Yeah. Throws you so out of balance that you feel too.
That was pretty good.
Actually, I think I hooked you too.
You
Well,
did.
It's a reflex.
Well, what's funny is you hooked me on these other ones earlier today, but I made sure I was keeping my center. On this one, I was trying to muscle him over, and I really couldn't help but go with him.
When you see the video, you're going to see how far out of center you were by using strength,
Right.
which makes judo so wrong with the way they do it now. So go ahead and step in.
Okay.
He's not going to throw you, he's just going to step in, do it wrong, step in, and then pick him up and set him down, but just so we can demonstrate the out of balance position we're really in.
Yeah.
There you go. I mean, it's hard to stand up when you're that far out of balance.
Right. Because I'm twisted up, and I'm leaning over the front of my one foot.
Your weight's all on one side, and I see a lot of that.
And you have to, because I have to counter all of his body weight over here by leaning away from it.
Yep.
Which is awful, but it is what you see in tournament. You see people come in and look this way for a throw. Whoa, wait a minute.
And I was taught that.
Yeah.
We were supposed to, for Tayatosh, hip throw, and all those others, look over the left shoulder And if your shoulder was over your heels, you were in balance. I thought, must be something wrong with this geeky little kid, because I'm always out of balance when I do that. I thought my hands should be coming here. Way back then, I thought my hands need to come back to my belly so that I could maintain my balance. When I would do that, they'd never notice. They'd never pay. That's like watching somebody do a kata. You don't know they did something wrong until they said, "Did I do it over? I did it wrong." Okay, sure. What did you do wrong? But that's what happens.
So, but, from that, okay, from the foot, showing the footwork again, your stance is almost, that's a,
This is a jujitsu front stance. My big toes are in line with each other.
okay, so, almost there.
Yeah.
And then you got a little bit of a bend, what is it, like a, can you see your foot from your,
Your kneecap is just in line with your toes when you're looking down.
Okay.
You can't quite see your feet.
right, okay,
And your back foot is toes facing the direction you're going with your heel up.
also you're on the
Heel
water
up,
down.
down.
Lot longer.
Okay,
Water.
Yeah. It's really nice for moving in this direction. You can't move this direction.
It allows you to pivot.
So, and then, so you're like blocking there,
Mm-hmm.
and you're doing that,
You're set up for let's my punch right now. So as I come in, you do that, and then you let this punch go by, trap it, and do your counter punch, for example, here.
do the soften, I mean,
So that, yeah, exactly. So that as I come through, you don't really resist me all that much until you hit.
right, and actually pull you into the punch.
If you want to, absolutely. That's how we started you. Without throws, we say you pull and get a punch.
Yeah, you snap them into the
Shoot!
punch,
Yeah, like
and
that.
then you come through with an elbow.
Yeah, because you're centered at this point, and then you can choose what to do from there.
I say, now we're gonna go that route,
Right?
so.
But that's what
all I
happens.
know.
When you move correctly though, look at all the stuff that opens up and you're just like, oh yeah, it's all here.
Right.
So now go ahead and do the basic hip throw correctly with the jiu-jitsu, and your arms taking over where your feet are on center, early your hips are on center, and then you switch from that to go from top down to maintain the center. From bottom up at first, there's your transition moves, that sets you in position. Then you go from that into the actual throwing move, which is then shoulders and hands, doing a cut with sword.
So it's roll. Yeah, it is. Yeah. So even if your arm, well, not which you didn't really hold on.
No, I try to be conscious of
Even
it.
if you were, I would have been center, because I stayed over my heels with my hips and my shoulders were. So it's,
And when your hands are right, that does mean, you can't get your hands right if your shoulders aren't right.
yeah, that's right. Because my goal is to keep everything in the center through the technique. My goal is not ever to be like this. You know, people say, well, don't turn your back on them when you throw them. When you're throwing, you don't turn your back on them.
No.
The back's not turned until you got him.
Well, when my back is to that direction, you're already falling. You're
I'm already committed.
Right.
You're gone.
Okay.
The throw is really chest to chest, is how these throws work. You drop in chest to chest, and over you go. You have your one thing.
So you've never really turned your back on the attacker.
So when I come in with back, and as I turn, see how we're chest to chest, so that when my back is over there, he's on the floor now.
By the time you squared up. Yeah, I can see.
Now, go ahead and do a couple times wrong without your hands and shoulders being aligned.
Okay.
So he can see that, and then do with the alignment.
So when I come in here,
With that strength.
And see, I could probably do those wrong all day. You know, probably he has to struggle to do them wrong.
I did. I did. My leg came up because I'm like, I'm way off balance. I gotta fix that. Yeah. So let's go like neck throw. If I come in and I grab him by the neck, it's really hard to fit my hip in, and it throws me out of my center.
As you can see, he never had him off balance.
No, he had him down.
He was bent, but he wasn't off balance.
I was as off balance as he was.
What I saw, when you come in and you had the neck throw was here, you were back here,
Mhm.
yeah, and we're feet distance apart,
Yep.
rather than in
Right.
and ball and hand back center. Is that more correct?
But now your hands are right, see?
Yeah.
Your
Well, I
hands were
corrected
wrong
my
earlier.
Aikido principle. You're right.
Well, but you can feel all of a sudden, like, wait a minute, my hands aren't right. Because you can't get you can't feel your balance.
Yeah, because what I just pictured, it was coming in just here, and
Yes.
my Aikido
And if
principle
you
says,
continue to follow that circle with your hands,
oh yeah.
you'll be
And I'm
just fine,
gonna-
you'll get your throw. That's where, Shigeru Kano, when he met Ueshiba and they went to do the Aikido and stuff, Shigeru Kano said, Aikido is perfect judo, which tells me we're doing the right thing with this kind of movement, because to do judo properly, it has to look like Aikido.
Right.
That means hands, feet have their proper movement and alignment with the hips, and then when you actually start doing the projection, throw, whatever it might be, your hands and hips start taking the alignment. They start, the movement and generates from there, and the control is from there then. And that's the unique thing. We step in with hands, with our hands, well,
Step in with our
with our
hands.
feet and hips moving properly. I've got that. Just remember, the next time you test. Rather think of
Sounds pretty terrifying.
I bet you were very scared.
Yeah, I'll give you another monkey technique.
Well, when you think about Aikido Jiu-Jitsu in the 1920s, kind of was the basis for most of what we do today in Aikido, in Hapkido, in Jiu-Jitsu, and Daido-Ryu Aikido Jiu-Jitsu means the system of the long sword. It's Daito. It's the big sword. And so we're making these sword-cutting movements, and that's how we accomplish our technique. So whether it's sword cut for a wrist lock, or if it's sword cut for a throw. So I did something that looked like Hapkido, and then I did something that looked like Judo, but they're the same Daido-Ryu
Well,
sword.
that's the principle behind the Kino Kanai Jiu-Jitsu. Walker has done so good, so well at putting together. When we separated that in 07, when I said you can't do Aikido with the sword, you got to do your cuts and all your strikes that are doing comes with the movement of the sword. Don't try to do Aikido with the sword
Right,
the way he was trying to do it. Because my brother's Aikido did not fit
right.
what I was doing with sword.
I just picture kind of what he was doing. I was trying to picture again the sword.
No,
You-
there you go.
When you come around and you went around like that, isn't there a sword technique where they'll come up the back of the blade
Yeah, sure.
and they'll guide it down?
Yep.
I've seen you, yeah, so in theory, what you did, you came down and then guided it down, blade for a cut. That's kind of what I'm visualizing.
Now, I
gotta go back to
wouldn't,
the visualization there.
I wouldn't teach it that way, because I think it changes the angle of our shoulders and rest the whole throw. To have our hands apart and come this way is different from having our hands together and come this way.
The movement for the cut is the different thing than movement that you have.
What I would say, I can't throw you with this, but what I would say is like, is give me the right punch, is if I were to come here's my sword cut.
Okay.
That's my sword cut for this technique. And for the Kotegaeshi, it's upward sword cut, downward sword cut.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And when we talked years ago about having the bow and over the head properly, sword and the stick even,
Right.
you know, having it in center over your head, that's important too when you're turning. Otherwise you'll do the technique and it'll look like you're just flailing around.
In Spirit Wind, let me show you this real quick. The Sayo Uno, we practice with the sword. The Udafuri Uno, we practice with the sword. So we keep that center. The Happo is really important because you're working with the center of the sword the whole time. You're working on how that sword stays on your axis point for the cutting. for the
So,
movement.
in theory, and we heard this in Aikido, it's really good to use the staff when starting out because it keeps your hands apart.
But this is what Soka Collins was supposed to do. He was supposed to include the sword cuts and the proper movements in the Aikido. He just demonstrated the simplicity behind it. And this is something we talked about, if I remember right, in the 90s, when we were in the driveway in the garage over at Soka Gassman's. We
Right.
talked about where that stick was supposed to be. When you have it up here, somewhere back here, somewhere up here, and and so we talked about the balance of the sword and stuff, and how you can tell when you're right or wrong.
When we do like a Sankyo, and I come here with my high center for my sword, and I turn, I have a really nice Sankyo without even doing anything.
Yeah.
But if I have my sword in the wrong high center, here,
Ground balance.
I'm in a big, I'm in a lot of trouble.
He steps back, yeah.
And
He steps
so
back, he's got it.
we want people to learn this before they start applying it to people, so that when they get to this point, they're not doing this. They're looking for example. Right now, my people are working on, my Hapkido students are working on Shio, and they're doing it, and that's what's happening. They're getting it here. And then when they turn here, and now we're on equal footing, he's not off balance. So it's that same thing. We want to make sure we do our Hoppo, high center where it belongs, right into our Sayo or
You want to be behind him, so when you.
well, we want to be in any position where he's off balance and we're not.
Or off to the side.
Yeah, off to the side.
Off to the side is real good, but boy, when learning, it's hard on the shoulders.
Yeah, we know that personally.
Yeah, been there, been there, done that.
So yeah, that's right. High center is really big in spirit wind for that reason. Because once you have that, you can do your throws, you can do your joint locks from center. But if you're out here or over here, behind
Or over
here,
your head, yeah.
yeah, or even out here, extended. So we keep low center, which is where most of the Dogon Ritsu stuff takes place, and we do high center, which is mostly for our off balancing.
They're
Or-
transition moves, yeah.
Or for example, we do a fish hook throw, which is like a high sankyo. So this is our high center to get the tension in this throw, but a low center for the actual throw. So high center, low center, and I just did that one with a Hoppo reversal.
Now you call that pushing.
They call that fish hook.
Fish
throw.
hook, pushing, I guess, pushing.
Because of the,
I don't think I ever learned it before.
was it because
That's
of the way
only word
his
that
hand
comes out
was,
by me breaking.
or is the way,
Is the throw.
it was the way you threw it?
Because this is done, let me show you real quick. I can do all three uno. Here's your udapuri. Throws them forward. Here's your style. Whoop. Oh, you haven't taken this? I'm sorry. Don't break the Yuki. All right, here.
He said, let go.
Fine, about that shoulder thing.
All right, so the tension is here. You bring him down so his head is down at his knees, and then keep it, you have to take yourself over there. So that's the tension that we're going for. And then the one I already did is just, I've got him going, and then I do my Hoppo straight back this way. So the idea is that the opponent is following that fish hook, break that, out, and look back.
Okay.
I'm gonna do a stop on that with the video, and I can let my key through without touching. Powerful key, you can do this. Then I'll post it for the other masters to look at, and I'll think, how do you do that?
How do you do that?
Good key.
Put me in a Nikyo real quick since we're having some fun. In a Nikyo. Now, turn around. Do a. Can you do this? Nikyo. Oh, yes. Okay. So,
Yeah. Yeah, you can do that.
Nikyo, spin around. Ichiko to Gesh. Well, that's not it. That's not writing at all. Nikyo. There it is. There's your Kodagesh, and then just Kodagesh me over there. Yeah.
I saw that on one of the Facebook things about that.
We're gonna have some fun. All right.
Okay.
So I want you to Nikyo me down to a knee.
Dangerous.
Ha! As I stand up, spin around, and throw me over there. So let's go kind of slow and get your hands right. Nikyo me to here. Nice. As I come up, you spin, spin, and throw. Yeah. All right. Here we go.
Do that that way, just a step, so you're in the camera, the big picture.
Nice.
Edit.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice. All right. Okay. Not bad. Let's do it this way. I'm thinking Hapkido. Go ahead. You do Hapkido for everyone you want. Nice. Okay. All right.
Pretty technique, but not practical technique.
It's a Hapkido thing. They love to do flashy stuff.
But I was gonna say, do they like to turn their back that
Yep.
much and hope you have the right
Yep.
hand off?
It's incredible what they end up doing. I learned this actually. It's the stupidest thing I've ever done. You do a Shio like this. It's awful. And then you're supposed to have them bent over your knees so you can hammer fist them. So you're stopping the movement so you can get an extra strike and it doesn't fit. The whole thing is awful. Like instead of going like this,
Yeah.
we're going around like this. What else do we do that's like that?
I thought it was good.
So
Yeah.
you get guys scared like me, who don't wanna fall, I'm gonna hook them. All I know is I'm hanging on.
Oh, see how you are? That's not nice. Okay, well anyway, we digressed. What's next?
That wasn't up here, you can't do it. That was Chuck Norris.
That was fun though. What else were we working on? Hip movement. We did this. So the Dodon root, basically keeping your shoulders over your hips is what we were working on.
So basically, to put it in words then, we're maintaining center with our hips and feet.
Right.
And then when we're doing the strike, then allows us to transition from hips and feet to hips and shoulders.
Right.
For
So
the alignment of shoulders and hips.
here I'm in my alignment. I'm blocking as I block the strike. It's a very natural movement for both limbs. One blocks, one counters on the same turn. And I can also do that with a step forward here, or even step all the way to here. Either one. It's a hip movement.
Depending on which throw you're applying.
Right. We'll find one of your events. And that's what my next sentence is. Okay. Good. Jishin?
Jishin.
Jishin.
Jishin. We know that one, but go ahead and do some more because you've had time to think about it.
Well, Jishin.
Well, I guess we should have our little squares on the floor to demonstrate, like with the Dodon or whatever, and how we're moving it.
Mac throws me a left punch, and I'm blocking here, counter striking here, just like Dodon root. I'm on my center. My feet aren't lined up the same as Dodon root. I'm not on this center. I'm out this way. It's different for us because we work around the center. So we're not lining up in the direction of our aggressor. We're lining up so that we can easily turn on our center wheel. So here's my Sankyo. I do forward projection. Forward, what is it called? Projection. And see how I'm still, my hips and my shoulders are on the top of the
You're
center.
staying on that center. That's kind of a sit and spin thing.
Sit and spin.
Well, I say that. I mean, the carousel horse that's got the rod through the middle and then just stays there all the time.
Right. So if I want to take over Max center, let's start straight. If I want to take over Max center, I kick through and turn, and I just do a rotation on his center instead.
You take over his.
Yeah, because you change center, you take this.
That's right. Instead of mine, it's his. So, so as I come up, I can do either hand or hand or foot, either one, to take center. At this point, he's already on the floor. If he's not, going back up, I just rotate on his center into whatever technique.
But is it really taking his center or just moving your own?
It's moving your own into where his is.
But this is, I mean, for the technique to work, I don't see it as important as taking his, as I see it as just getting him
No,
off.
I disagree because we're doing two things. I'm keeping my center and moving my mass into the technique, but I'm also moving him out of center. I'm not moving his whole body out of center.
But what if you moved him halfway and you still didn't take his center?
I can do that. I just keep my own. It's king of the hill
King of the hill.
mentality. That's what we say, actually. You feel like you've accomplished something. When I come in and I take over center, I've off-balanced him, and if I do my technique before he regains his balance, then I've done good Jishin. But if I just move him off of his center, now I'm on it, he's established a new center, we're right back where we started. So the goal is to off-center him and keep him off-center throughout the technique. And then as we move up with Jishin technique, we do more and more of it with our kicks. So I'd be here, and do my pressure here, so that we keep our shoulders and hips in line and work our lower limbs the same as our upper limbs. So for example, for throwing application, okay, step into your center for your punch. So step back, so you're stepping into your center. So you're stepping into that center. Okay. So then when I come forward, I leave my center, I come into his, and I keep spinning, and look, I'm right on top of
Yeah,
that.
you landed right on top of his, you took his center that time.
That's right. And that's how we practice our throws. And then, same thing, just be on your center, right, for demonstration purposes. So then, when I come in and I focus on the kicking a little bit more, I have to get this leg in position, do my kick, and then maintain that center so I come down and I'm still on my center. So we're working really hard on core strength and movement with our shoulders over our hips to maintain center. And the throws don't go the way the attacker started. They almost always go about 90 degrees. Depending on how fast he attacks or how aggressive my defense is, it can be all the way as much as 100 meters. If Mac throws this kind of punch, I'm going to throw him clear over there. But if he throws this kind of punch, I'm only going to throw him out right there, based on what he's doing, what he does.
Okay, switch sides, and that way you do the technique in the opposite direction so that we can see also in the video the opposite side.
So just like that under, but as I come in, I keep that spin, so I have a little extra spin. And then again, we're using our legs for things like this. We do our hold downs, our pins, primarily with our feet. But until they learn that, we do things with our hands, like joint locks, even UV locks. And when I rotate, see, I stay on that center. See how I've stayed here.
Are you maintaining, in other words, I can go down, you are getting the hips and feet alignment thing, and then when you knock them out of center and you go in to do the throw, are you doing it?
Yes.
I didn't see that, that's why I was wondering.
So when I come in, when I am in center here, these hands are coming up and down. My hands come to my low center as I do my kick, for example, if I'm doing a right edge, then I'm right back to center. And again, I stay on that center as I do my technique. It can be whatever type of hold downs I want. And we don't teach specific stances in Jishin, we teach to keep our center.
Right.
Your feet go wherever they have to stay centered.
To maintain center.
Because if we taught Kakutsudachi, our center is nowhere near that front foot. And then when we shift to my Hidari Jibatai, I move from my center. We don't want to do that in Jishin. We want to stay centered over our hips and let our feet move wherever they move. So that we can do things like, gives me the right. And I do that off balance, and we talked about where I don't take the center. There, then the whole technique without leaving my center and without even using my hand.
Yeah, you brought your back to you.
Right, exactly. Or for example, I do punch him in. I do an arm cut down. Arm cut down with my leg. Of course, you can kick him in the head on the way by. It helps the off balance.
Yeah.
So those sorts of things where we are just maintaining. We work the core really, really hard. First 3 months is almost all core conditioning. The next 3 months is arms and leg conditioning. So you can do these things. You can pick up your foot. You can turn it different angles while you're doing your technique. So a lot of conditioning. People that start can't do this. And
I can see that, yeah.
and Mitch and I realized if we get away from our drills and exercises, we're not good at our third-degree drills. You have to really drill that.
The exercises that you're talking about, are these leg lifts and all that, or?
Yeah,
doing
all of them.
2 or 3 people stretches
Planks.
anymore?
We're doing them.
Well, okay, strengthening, we don't stretch, we strengthen.
When did we just do those? A week ago?
2 weeks ago, maybe?
Maybe 2 weeks ago with Ruger? No,
It was just Stephanie and you.
Stephanie. You know Stephanie that tested for yellow, and she was here to be.
Yep.
She's doing Jishin, so we did the partner stretches last time she was here. So yeah, all those. I mean, just something this simple, just doing this. Because if you haven't done enough of that, it's surprising how your body learns to only bring your leg forward enough to step.
That's not a lot of movement.
That's very, very little movement at
Yeah.
that.
These are hip muscles that they actually help you walk or do anything. Kicking is really strength here, not the big muscles. It's fingers and flexors. Yeah.
So let me do this real quick. Let's go, let's do Oriya Ghosh 4 different ways. So step into your center with the right punch. Yeah. As I step in with my Harai, I'm centered and I do my back kick, facing about 90 degrees. And then I come in with a spine lock application. A spine lock in here. It's so much easier to get lift when they're all twisted up. I lose track of them.
I
So,
actually spine locked my dog.
really?
When she jumps, I spine lock her. She'll jump on her. She just didn't know the thing.
So the first,
Know any chiropractors for dogs?
There's probably one on TV.
The first hurrah was for lower color belts, like green belt. The second hurrah was like first gear. And then this is between first and second degree. You have to come at me so I can stay on my side. Oh, yeah, like that. So that your kick does the throw. My body hardly moves at all. Okay.
How do we demonstrate so that the hand alignment is real obvious? Do that at a speed where the hand, but you're gonna have somebody say, well, I don't see it, I don't understand what you.
Well,
So
that's
if you
good.
can demonstrate how the hand alignment takes over from the lower.
I'm not going to show that in this throw because this throw is about the leg doing it. And I'll show you what I mean.
Right, well, I didn't mean specifically.
Here is the circle, but my arms aren't doing it. My leg is doing the back side of the
Right,
circle.
this is all leg and
Yeah.
hip.
So,
There are doing throws that have proper alignment.
So let me just show real quick. As you come in at me, if I were to do my center with my hands, turn and do my kick, this would be the sword cut. But what I'm doing right now is forgetting about the hands and doing the back side of the sword cut, this part, with my leg. So my leg is doing that same circle of the cut, but my arms aren't doing it anymore. Because that's Jishin, we're trying to work legs.
In Bojitsu,
Hmm.
we use the bow for certain things, for throws. Then we go to that next level, push that aside, and it's just the side of our body, it's either our hands or our feet. So that would be very easy to demonstrate here now.
That's true.
Because what you're doing right now is just your feet, and that's really a bow technique.
Yeah, it's kind of the same as the bow trick.
So go ahead and demonstrate just using the side of your body. Just the one-handed from the attack, just use the side of your body, use your foot properly. I know, I'm really challenging you here. This is for real.
But no
So
back,
did I will.
no back kick.
No, there wouldn't be.
Okay.
It's just your body using his,
It's gonna be
If
ugly.
it'll work, I can edit.
It's gonna be really ugly if you don't tuck and roll. So don't.
You're basically doing a forward, right, and a roll.
All right. Let's go.
Without your right hand, so
Okay.
the other right hand.
Oh, this. What did I do with it? Did I hit his hand?
Just leave his hand down there, you don't need to wrap or anything.
No,
You
but
just
then I
turn,
do that.
the one hand guides and gets him direction, that's all it is.
Hook around your belt or something.
All right.
Okay, get committed to your attack there,
Yeah, and don't hold on to me. That's not
Mr.
nice.
Mac. Don't grab hold, just
That's my thing.
just like you're gonna do a diving roll past him.
Okay, let's do that again. I think I have better.
We can tie your shoulders to your thing with a belt if you want.
Tie it down.
Yeah, we can tie it down. Well, it's that on mobility.
You're getting there.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
just a, you know, here we go,
Well,
trying to find another way to practice.
What if you walked it through a little slow before you tried to commit fast?
Will does a different footwork than I do. This in Jishin, what we're doing is this. But Will does that. He comes. Oh no, he comes in, together, and out. That's what it is.
Yeah, that was what we ultimately ended up with.
Let me try that.
Okay.
No, I still got it wrong.
Your other hand should be bigger until he gets past a certain point, then you drop it.
Whoa. Okay.
Because his left hand should be going out further and then dropping.
Yeah. Just,
Instead
just
of-
like you're doing a high parry cut.
Yeah, I can see. Like it's shorter, right?
What I did was this. I was going for centripetal.
Okay, well, I just wanted, it's there now, I can look at it and we'll figure it out. Go ahead. Forget all that now and go back to what
All right, we weren't finished with what I was.
these sidetrack derailments that I have.
So the second degree throw is get the hands out of the equation, let the kick be the throw. So then the third, come on in, is I come up. Oh, yeah, he gets me.
All right, he's got it in spite of the fact he was 3 feet away.
Yeah, I was gonna say that one was interesting.
All right.
That was dead nuts.
That was cool.
I
Actually, that was
I like
very.
that, Mac.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right,
I like
yeah,
that.
that's all I can say.
than last one.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it
Fast,
again.
fast,
Yeah. If you're helping me, don't. I feel like you're almost jumping over my hip.
That's right.
Okay. It might be good. It might mean
I'm just trying to actually commit.
Good, well, that's what we want, that's good. Because it feels like there's so little effort, it feels like he's helping me.
Full
Well,
commitment,
really,
makes
yeah.
it makes me feel like no one's there.
The commitment is what we need. Yes. So good, Deneve taught me that long, long ago. He's like, I want you to really, really, really want to hit me. It's like, really want to hit me. And when I did, he just wasn't there. I threw myself. Like, it's just that fast.
You guys know David Balda? He was with Steve Van Camp.
Oh.
David was a PKA fighter.
I know who you mean.
He was a younger guy back when he used to come up, and we were showing Van Camp's crew some Aikido, and I told David, who was really good, I said, it hit me, and he just full out was going to just drill me, and I threw him with an Aikido coach, and he just freaked out. I mean, I just went, what? And he just flew it almost like nothing was there. And he said, what happened? And I said, Aikido coach. And he said, how'd you do it? And I said, well, I'll show you, throw another punch. He goes, not on me. And
Really, yeah.
well, and what surprised me was I didn't even feel he was there because
Right.
he didn't know any better not to throw the commitment in it because
Right.
he'd never seen anything.
Right?
And he just went, and then I just reacted. I'm lucky for me because he could hit on it.
You
Yeah.
knocked your head off.
Right?
He was gonna hit you.
He
Yeah.
was.
That's what
He got me
said.
back though. He did an elbow strike. He showed me the nerve strike. I punched, and he did a cut on an elbow. I got underneath it, underneath my elbow. Oh my God, that thing hurt for a week. He was really good at those pinpoint strikes.
So anyway, that I just wanted to show that in Jishin we keep our center and we emphasize the legs more and more as we go up. And then that last kick, or that last Harai Gosh was keeping our center and getting up and getting the weight on the side down.
That's it, that would show real well. Now, in other styles, whether you're doing like a kata or a whatever, let's just go through and identify the movement from those and how we know that we should be maintaining the center to do a proper strike, block, punch, kick, whatever.
Right.
But I don't know of anyone who's ever identified what that means in Taekwondo or karate,
Right.
Okinawan styles.
Well, Armando's here. We could do Hoshin.
So, well, any of the above, there's got to be something there where we say, okay, here's how you maintain proper movement to do these forms or whatever you're doing. Blocks and strikes, we talked about, you don't strike or punch or kick from center, you have no power.
Yeah, go ahead and jump out off the mat for a second. We're going to do with Armando what we did with you. Armando, we're going to show our hip movement when we stay on center, and then we're going to show our hip movement when we move on center. So, what you just doing earlier, you're great. So, you're going to jab cross and make sure your hip turns on your cross. Go ahead. Whatever you like. There you go. Turn your foot a little more. There you go. There you go. A little more turn of your foot. Your hip's doing it. Let your foot go. There you go. Yeah, more power that way. There's a big difference. Okay, good. Other side. So what Armando's doing is his lead is here. Well, no, his lead is here and his reverse is here, but he's staying on the same axis. Just
Yeah, when you corrected that foot, you got
yeah, you can hear the difference.
Right, you can see it. Looks like he's short stroking.
just a simple thing like your foot being wrong, you take all the power out of your strike and your punch.
Well, short stroke.
Yeah. Like throwing a bowling ball when you're going to throw halfway, project out, or a baseball.
You gotta punch through the target. You gotta be able to reach through the target in order to do it.
Good, okay. Now he's going to do his jab cross hook, and the hook punch comes, in this drill anyway, it comes out of the closed stance into the open stance, and that gives him the hip and shoulder. Anyways, so, jab cross hook. Good. And now the tendency is for people to lean into these strikes and lean back out. We don't want to
Get
do
your
that.
shoulder, your ears past your shoulders, because your head's forward, and that's
Jab cross.
taking your power.
When you did your jab cross, you did a good job. So you actually center into it really nicely. But then when you're going into that hook, there, keep it on that side.
Yeah.
Keep your head up.
Yeah, good.
If you hit the floor, you'll hit the floor.
Ah,
Hit through the mid.
Yep,
Hit through the mid.
yep. Your hips make the movement, the shoulders
tight.
Uh-huh, and you are.
Is it quite bad?
No, you're doing a good job. If you keep it tight where you have more power, closer to your body, instead of overextending, you're doing it right. But if you're keeping it tight and then leaning over to get more reach, this is wrong, right? So shoulders stay on top of hips. You're not going to fight from a real big distance. You're going to fight very close.
When Miyagi sensei used to say, always look eyes, you know. I like that because it made you hold your head out. So you weren't doing this, because every time you do that, ears past shoulders, and you've lost all your power. You've lost all your center. You're not in balance anymore. So keep your eyes up, so you remember to keep your chin up and your head up. Because if you find yourself looking at his stomach or chest, that means your head's over and you're out of alignment. And so you know, if you can have your head up and still be able to see the whole front of their body without having to look down.
And you're right. Well, this is very heavily influenced by kickboxing. And so as a result, what we tell people is look in the numbers, you know, like the sports jersey, look in the numbers. Because then you got all four of the joints that matter. You can see them all very clearly. Look in the eyes, and he looks over my shoulder, and that gives me enough distraction for him to beam me.
Oh, sure.
So
Yeah.
we keep our eyes right here. But the important thing is, I think, keeping your chin up so you can do your stuff. The boxers do go down all the way down to here, really low.
Protect from an uppercut.
It is. Well, yeah, or anything that catches your chin. You know, anything.
Yeah, anything can come up under from an angle.
Right. So they're looking through their eyebrows. In fact, I used to train guys. Look through your eyebrows. Look through your eyebrows. The problem is that really curls you up. If you're going to stay centered, you're going to be leaning forward or backward. So Soka's right. You want to keep it here. It's like this, right?
You can't hit him.
I know. That's true with Merriweather. Well, point is, whenever you're moving your head, it has to be on top of your shoulders. It can't be in front of your shoulders. Okay, let's add in the uppercut, because this is another big part of being on center for Hoshin. He does jab, cross, hook, and then uppercut. Now the uppercut has a lot of upward momentum to it, because it's an upward punch. Yeah, and so we don't lean, right? We have to go up on that axis. Yeah.
And that definitely is a correct movement of your feet
Right,
and hips to get that uppercut.
right.
Because if you're trying to do the uppercut with the shoulder movement, you won't have anything. Now, the reason some of these boxers are so powerful is because they're just physically strong. And they're using strength to overcome sloppy technique. And I don't want to get hit by them when they're doing it, but the point is, that is a weakness.
Right. They could be stronger. It's not that they're weak. They could be stronger.
And if they follow, see, boxing comes from the Chinese history, if I remember right. The influence for boxing that we have in our country is actually from the Chinese. And of course, it may have gotten twisted and lost somewhere in the shuffle, but that's where it originated. And so, you definitely had correct movement with the Chinese influence way back then until they got to where they were so low and so deep you couldn't stand up.
Okay. Now, where it gets difficult is kicking, no matter what style you're in. So he's going to go back to here. He's going to do just a lifting kick. And see how his hips are centered? Yeah, you can use your back leg. Hips are centered. He closes down so he's got his hips going the right direction. And then lift up. There we go. So that his hips are very stable throughout it.
That's good the way he's doing it now. That's perfect.
Good.
Two of those, your first two you did, your hips got up there like this and your shoulders were back. You'll see it on the tape. But the last few that you did, the last 3 or 4 you did, your foot came up and your hip stayed center. You dropped into center as you moved your leg out. The first two you did, you kind of tipped back and reached.
Good, yeah, excellent.
But
So
you
fixed it
corrected
as you
yourself.
went.
I think it
Yeah.
probably just felt better to do it the other way.
Now, do a back thrusting kick for me, Armando. Yeah, you can face the other way and start that way. So, as he kicks here, go ahead. Are you gonna miss?
My bag if I do.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Right.
Here he is. The shoulders are way out here, your hips are back there, and your ears are past your shoulders, shoulders are past hips.
So
You got no
instead-
alignment.
turn, turn, kick here. Don't keep your head forward and glance.
Keep your head up, keep your shoulders up. Move your legs, not your.
Here, let's come back here real quick.
You really have no power that way.
You will now, go ahead. You will.
That's because you're trying to use muscle strength instead of correct movement.
I ain't got no strength.
You will.
And you will, eventually you'll develop it, because when you start moving correctly, you have to train your body to move correctly. And better to go slow and do it right than to go fast and do it wrong.
I've been doing it wrong all the time.
Well, I don't think so. You do have one stronger leg than the other, but I think it's a matter of
Guys
moving.
lean forward too.
Yeah, it's a natural thing, a lot of people do that. Just,
You're going with your front foot, so you're gonna bring it back in center, fire it, and bring it back. See how you don't want to do this. You don't want this movement. You want everything going toward your target. Back this way.
So it's not a lockout kick.
No, we don't ever lock joints if we can help it anyway.
It's, okay, so I think to keep, I'm watching myself in the mirror, so it's more of, so you're not, see, my normal thing is trying to reach way out there.
But when you do that,
Yeah, you're off center.
right.
you're just a teeter-totter. Your body counterbalances itself.
But that's why in Yoshikai they always
Yeah,
had us do that exercise and backwards.
that's so wrong.
It was killer.
They were teaching you how
I
to
realize
balance.
if I can watch my wheel the whole time,
Yeah, if your shoulders are, you're still doing this.
If I can't see my heel, I have to surrender it, or like, I don't have to watch every anymore,
right.
because my head has to be able to see.
You shouldn't watch yourself in the mirror when you're doing technique. People do that all the time.
Yeah.
They're like, am I doing it right? Look at over
Yeah,
there.
it's wrong there.
Right, that is wrong.
So I have to block this now.
I'm always doing that in front of the mirror, so don't look at where. So now you're right, if you can look at your heel, but don't look under your arm or your heel, look over your shoulder.
And I don't even I don't just look at the target. I watch my heel and I watch it go to the target.
That would make sense in the Jukido way of looking at things, kind of like doing your Kuda, looking at your hands instead of your opponent. Or
Try to stand up a little more and make this more about your leg and hips moving, not your shoulders. You're just standing straight up and all of a sudden, bam, you throw a kick back there. Now you're tipping again.
So
I think your movement's creating a tip on you.
okay. Head over to my.
Now you're doing it.
you're doing it actually.
You just turned to talk to him and that was stretch position.
Okay. Something people tend to forget is your shoulder blades need to pull back. Right? Put your shoulder blades back. You'll keep your posture much better. Yeah.
Your
more
left
power,
hand
too.
actually will come around a little bit. That's blocking and guarding your ribs and
Right.
so forth. So rather than having it here and you're trying to kick there, bring it around with you so that your whole body's in alignment.
Just like how, yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
That's what you need to do, Armando, is just bring that left hand back as a guarding block against your ribs and stuff, and then execute your kick from here, and your shoulders will be square. It'll take a while to get the coordination of it, but you'll develop a lot faster speed and a lot more power, because you're not throwing yourself out of balance to do it.
Where's the power coming from? And it's just this lift. Where's the power coming from now? The floor and pushing off with my front foot?
Well, you're turning as you do this, so
It
you've
is a
got,
turn.
you've got the circular movement that generates that power.
I want to see power with it.
If you keep your posture and watch your heel, you'll get the technique down enough where you can just add power.
What you want to do, go ahead and hold it for me. What you want to do is keep your shoulder blades pulled back and then look over your shoulder. So that your movement, is all toward the target. If your movement is away from the target, then you're going to fall forward. But if your movement is toward the target, you have a kick.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
There's a, you were doing it this way, right? Left foot?
yeah.
Right, that's what I was doing. Yeah. Keep going. So shoulder blades pulled back, look over the shoulder, keep your posture. Sure.
Keep head up. Look at him.
Yeah, you're listening.
You gotta see your target. If you don't have your target, you're not turning your body. Now you're getting correct move.
Yeah, far better.
Now you have to put some intent. You got some intent to put in there.
Yeah, now you gotta
Like,
be-
I wanna hit him. Now just do it and hit him.
Kind of more practice that.
Sure. Yeah, you put some time in on this, you become much more
Yep, make sure you're looking over your shoulder at him. Don't cut yourself short. Keep, look at him. If you don't look at him, you did it wrong. Now, bring your left elbow back farther too, so you're keeping your guard in your ribs and stuff there. Now you're turning. Your hips and shoulders and head are all aligned.
They all turn together.
Yeah, they gotta. If they don't turn together, you got one thing going this way and the other thing going that way. Half your power is gone. You'll see it in the video, and then when you see what you're getting that's not right, you'll notice right away. If you're not looking, you're moving wrong. You're moving wrong.
Not looking around.
You gotta look at him. If you don't see the target, you gotta look back and see him. If you don't look back and see him, you're not moving your body completely. You're cutting yourself half. It's like throwing a baseball and stopping here.
Yes.
I don't feel much power. But
Oh, I do. It's increased triple since it started.
my
You know,
body's-
when you throw somebody and you do it perfect, they just like, what'd you do? They didn't feel any of it. You didn't feel it either because it's so correct that they just became part of your movement. This kick will feel so powerful to them because you're kicking them. And you're going to think, but I didn't do anything. I didn't feel the power. It's your movement that creates power, not physical strength. So moving correctly is more important than being able to generate that old haymaker and nail him with it. You know, don't worry about power. It comes natural. Just like walking. You learn to walk and then running. By the time you're 2 years old, you're running so fast nobody can keep up with you. Where'd he go? You know, where's he at now? He got away. Because you learned how to run naturally. It's part of walking. It's faster. So worry about being correct with your technique. And believe me, the power is going to be there. And then when you get to the exercises and things where you're doing throws with your kicks, that'll be so easy. Just got to do a kick and all of a sudden you throw them.
Whatever.
As it was told me, is power comes with practice. And they just say, it will come with practice. You're going to that's what I found out. It will come with practice. You need practice. You cannot kick hard right from the beginning. So you can kick right.
Right. Kick properly and then it will be hard.
And then your power will come.
If you practice to have power and hit hard so you can feel it, it's all about ego. Just try and make yourself feel powerful and good. Practice to move correctly and don't worry about the rest. It'll be there naturally. Because if you move wrong and you practice wrong for all those years and you have an instructor that doesn't see it and correct it or don't even know how to, when you go to use it for real, you might be lucky enough to land a good kick to take somebody out. Or you might get surprised because they stepped in on you and they took away all your power and your balance is gone so you couldn't recover and all of a sudden you're in trouble. The same is true with your throws and everything else. If you're not in center, if you're not in balance, they are. They will always be. You won't have any power. So practice proper move and proper form and don't worry about physical strength.
Here's how we move our center across the mat. Let's go right foot forward. Toes up, elbows in, push step right.
Now, your foot's different than his. Your front foots are the same, your back foots are different.
Right.
He's got T.
That's a plural.
Yeah, he's like this and I'm like this.
Yeah.
You're right.
So the back foot needs to be,
I don't think it needs to be anything. I think whatever is
okay.
comfortable. Yeah. In this application, I don't know what he's going to do next. I don't know if he's going to be kicking here, if he's going to be reverse punching, or if he's going to be doing something this direction. So I'm okay with it.
Okay, that's good. Fine.
What we're doing here at the
Just let the
basic
back foot
level-
come along naturally to the person.
Yep, however he likes it. however he likes it.
Okay.
This is Hoshin Jutsu.
Okay.
This isn't,
Yeah, I was gonna say, so it's not keto or whatever, yeah.
No, we don't have to do this. If I'm doing this today, it's because Soka's here.
yeah,
But it's not.
that's what's natural, but it wasn't that way.
It wasn't natural yesterday.
Radio.
Okay, so we're going that way now. Push that to the side. So our focus is still here, but we're moving it forward now. And what we're doing here is we're going through these angles, pushed up this way, so that we know how to move in orientation to our opponent, any of the basic angles. But what's important for what we're talking about in the video is the hips are what we move from. We don't step and pull.
Yeah.
This, even though this is kind of a kickboxing sort of application of it, this is the same as Aiki Taisen from Aikido. You know, we would row like this with Aikido, and here we're just doing this, but it's the same. The hips are what we move from.
And you don't want this up and down, you don't want move this, catch up, move this, catch up. We will not want that either.
That's right. So, go back and forth. Then we have to do what we call cowboy step. It's the outside foot and this one. There you go. And then back. Same thing. See, you have to be able to be comfortable moving on one level at all 8 angles. which
And
is
your
not
feet
easy.
are never being picked up.
Feet are sliding.
So it's all sliding. All right.
So let's switch leads. Now let's show them our replacement steps. The replacement steps, they kind of do, they kind of skip. You see how our hips don't move up and down. So hopefully, but yours don't. Right? Right.
Yeah, his feet are leaving.
He's a lot more like this.
Yeah, his feet, yeah.
Yeah.
See,
Might be a baseball thing.
Oh yeah, could be easily.
yeah, absolutely.
Let's go this diagonal.
Those dangerous sports and this nation.
Right. Good.
Go ball at it.
Okay, so we got that. Let's do side to side, rear cross. We say it's kind of like poles of a magnet. They cross and repel each other. We're not crossing like you think of in a traditional X stance. It's just a flutter step, cross step.
They're actually coming, yours are coming in line and then going back
They
out.
should really never completely cross. If knees
Yeah.
cross, we're in big trouble.
Yeah, you'll feel that one.
So we're kind of
Your
coming in
shoulders will
line.
drop if you do that.
Right. Right. So that's that, and then our the odd angle, front foot, back foot. You find that one angle on each of these is kind of awkward. It's not natural to do that, but it might be necessary. For example, breaking this down, step, I did, right? That was my first step here. And instead of coming to here, I turn it into whatever that is. Or if I'm coming here like a Hami, like a Hami, into my next movement. So for Hoshin, it would be here and then here. Now at this point, I can decide how far around it will. So at the basic white belt level, which is what he's working on, it's just how do I move my hips and keep my feet under me? You either do that by moving your front foot, or you do that by moving your back foot. There are really only two choices. You got to move one of the 2 feet. So we practice the 8 angles, both push, step, drag, and replacement step. That's what we just did. We do it with a partner, so that now, if I'm leading, Armando has to mirror image me. Oh, who's the other foot? There you go. I'm going to do replacement steps. Good. Good. And I'm going to do replacement step this way. That's it. So you get used to using your footwork based on what your opponent gives you.
You got about a 60-40 stance, 60 back, 40 front.
Yeah.
Looks like I'm watching
Maybe.
you. Not as much him. I think when he
Right.
plants, he's actually about a 50-50, but you look like
Right.
about a 60-40.
I think it depends on the person, what you're prone to. I'm prone to kicking.
Front leg.
Yeah, front
Well,
leg.
yeah, exactly. And I think I probably would be a 60-40. And mine's for the, so no one reads it.
Yeah, good point.
I can pick it up a lot easier. That's because if I'm going to have it out there, I'm always thinking, okay, someone gets it, I want to throw my leg off.
It's a good question, and the reason I like the question is because we don't have stances, so we don't talk about which way does your foot point and how much weight is on it. We don't ever talk about it. Our principle is do what's natural for you. Instead of having to choose a style that feels comfortable to you, you make this style comfortable for you and still effective. Some people like to be kind of down like this, and some people kind of like to be up like this, but we're just trying to keep the basic principle, and And then if they like to do grappling, they go on the grappling route. If they like to do the striking, they do the striking route. Kinda. And honestly, to tell you the truth, I read that book probably 3 times through before I developed the style. But I also based a lot of it on Muay Thai. The hands, we do the basic, like you already did, the handlebar punches they call them. We also do the 4-knuckle downward strikes like Muay Thai. We also do the knee and elbow. Mitch really likes this. He's been doing Muay Thai anyway. But this is what we call completing the circle. You complete the circle by bringing knee and elbow together. You do it on the ground, and then mount. You do it on your feet here. So if Armando gives me like a, let's go a hook punch with your left hand. And if I'm doing this, sends me to my next strike, because this movement is a big hip movement based on completing the circle that I'm on. See what I mean?
Kind of like caution.
It does.
Slow jump for it.
And at that level, which is way higher than where Armando is, we get them doing this. And this triangle movement, because my feet are on a triangle, my hip is moving in semicircles. So then I go from here, I would go into my kick, or into my, I would just slide it into my punch.
So in sparring, what you're trying to get that bounce to say, okay, now where am I going to launch my head when I see
Right.
it?
So if we were actually sparring potion style, I'd use my replacement steps, I'd use my punches we did earlier, and I would use my triangles. All of those things go into how we do our fighting style, so to speak, fighting style. So there's a whole curriculum for the striking, and then there's a whole curriculum for the grappling
So
and weapons too.
what you said about not having stances does not actually take away from how they have to move correctly.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
We're
Even though
more,
you're not saying you gotta put your feet this way,
Right.
you still have to move a certain way to maintain your center,
we're more concerned with the movement to maintain center than we are with where your feet end up.
where the feet are. They're gonna go there naturally. Even my brother would say there aren't really no stances.
Right.
Just let them, they'll go where they need to be to do whatever it is. But they had to move a certain way to be correct.
That's how we do Jishin, and that's how we do Hoshin. It's basically, if your hips are moving the right way, your technique will be effective. And if all that's happening, your feet are going to be there for you. Especially with this kind of drill work. Whether he has his foot this way or this way, he still has his hips moving the way he wants them to when we're sparring. Yeah. So there's the centering for Hoshin.
So we did jiu-jitsu, we did motion, well, I just said,
Man, I'm just looking right.
I want to do Jukido. But I don't want to demonstrate it. I'm the guy with the least experience in that.
But you don't understand the principles.
I hope so.
principal. Yeah, you're principal.
We're at a school.
Still is my principle.
Just ask Walker, he'll tell you.
Incidentally, anybody needs any drink or stuff in that bag there, help yourself.
But, yeah, I think I want something more than water.
Here, right. Take a look, there's Diet Coke, there's
Coke. Oh, yeah,
yeah, that's right, I'm the diet guy. There's a couple Gatorades in there, a couple Snapple teas.
I don't water, I might take a sample if you don't mind.
I don't care. Stuff out.
I didn't even know this one.
Diet Coke,
There's I think a green and a sweet tea or something like that in there. I don't know. You can say my wife grabbed, what do you got there?
This is Snapple,
We were saying.
That's fine.
green tea, you want that?
Yeah, sure. My my wife loads me up full of stuff in our refrigerator. I just throw it in the cooler or whatever.
Yeah. No, I don't.
There's another Gatorade in there too. The Powerade on it too.
Oh, he's trying to show you, couldn't he?
That's right. See, this guy watching his weight. There's a Powerade in there. This.
They want the low calorie. That's low calorie. It don't matter to me.
Soda.
Then you what? Because obviously it's working.
mean, how much would you think you lost on those?
I think I'm fine.
Yeah, and you've done that in like 2 months?
Started looking here, like,
I can't remember the first time I came here, we talked out there, and I've been here two times since, I think. And each time we get smaller and smaller, I need to run that program.
What program is it?
Or you're just doing the what it is?
Me? Oh, you? Yeah. We could do the same thing and not lose anything. Well, I've done it.
Yeah, I
I've
prefer
been up to 5 miles a day walking and all kinds of stuff.
So
have a baby.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. That's good. Well, I want to burn that. It's just I'm burning it in the wrong places.
Can't stop you, dude.
Yeah.
The body decides.
Okay, today I'm gonna burn fat.
What is it?
This one doesn't say you have to do finger locks.
I know.
Oh, it says you have to do it for 30 feet on this side. Oh, no. Oh, no. Thank you. Okay. He wants to look at what he needs to be looking at.
Train, I wasn't certain.
Well, I want to throw an idea at
Stuff.
for like 10 years, but Daniel's on when you ever get a chance. In jiu-jitsu, I think, it's just off the top of my head, I think it would be helpful if there was some sparring. Not just a zombie drill, but actual sparring, so they really, okay, this sparring is going to be where they're going to throw some strikes, and you're going to be blocking and doing a throw. Or whatever. Whatever. Just for fine tuning.
It's okay with me. It gets dangerous. People bleed, but it's okay
Well,
with me.
my blood, wear a karate mom's got red on anyway.
They're with the,
So,
gloves, MMA gloves.
We have these bag gloves that are pretty decent.
well, I mean, we don't have to do things in such a way that they're going to kill you.
I think it's true, I think what you're after is
Yeah,
trying to
you
get a
step
little more
in,
realism, sparring out.
keep it
somewhat deep.
slow.
It's also gonna go different on who's
Like a
going to
zombie
spar.
drill, it's slow, but you still got to do the block, you still got to get set up and do the technique. What do you think? Yeah. See, now we have sparring.
Now we have sparring.
That's gonna be
Somewhere in there.
Yeah, I know. Those still hurt.
Those are
It
gonna
should be
be,
part
so
of
if someone does
each
commit,
level.
you know it's a pull punch.
So
it's
that,
still
okay,
gonna-
I've got hip throw, neck throw,
It'll
shoulder
take
throw,
the
I've got
sharp
inside
edge
block,
off, so
outside
you
block,
won't get
outside
cut,
block.
hopefully.
Okay, now your sparring has to
They're
be
gonna
like
feel
that.
that. MMA gloves will probably be a little bit, I saw some new ones, so I was watching that HD.
So that allows you to go back to
Gauge
gauge one and put a little bit of sparring in there.
Very good, but then they have this big.
Zombie drill's good,
I see.
but it's not the same thing where you just got one person. They're attacking, you're defending, or vice versa.
Gotcha.
It doesn't have to become an MMA fight.
It might be
You don't
like a
have to get that
slap spar
aggressive.
thing too.
But it has to be where you
That'd be okay.
realistic.
I think what he's trying to do is get that set up in there, so it's almost like.
Because it changes your focus a
Not
little bit.
smacking, but you're trying to get that.
A little more
Set up.
intent
Yep.
behind the technique. I think.
Makes sense to me, so good.
Sparring for the level that they're at to demonstrate the techniques that they're doing, besides how they normally demonstrate. This way, they're actually getting to do the technique against moving objects, not just standing there doing the throwing or shoulder throw. I watched that on video. I thought, man, this isn't how we're really going to do this on the street. We've got to do some sparring. Keep it light. Don't have to kill each other. Doesn't have to be bloody. But I mean, that's you know, for the level that they're at. Of course, since that would be brand new to them for sparring, start out, you know, hip throw, neck throw, shoulder throw, basic title block, and all that stuff, and then add to it as they go along. And so when they finally get to where they're doing the stick defense or whatever weapon defense, they're able to move at a pretty reasonable speed, with control, and be able to maintain that movement while they're doing whatever it is they're doing. That's all. Yep. Good, yeah.
The problem I have with sparring, and I have a problem with sparring in Hapkido too, is the idea of sparring is that you're not trying to hurt each other.
Well,
It's kind of the
we'll take that
opposite of
part
what we're
out.
trying to
Go
do,
ahead.
right? It's the exact, it's like, I'm going to do this so I don't hurt anybody. Oh, okay, but there's no off-balancing. I don't off-balance myself because I'm not trying to hit you really. And
You
you
also
can't
don't have any power.
Yeah, and you can't off-balance me because I'm doing this, you know? And so,
Short stroke.
sparring really sucks for teaching technique. It really sucks for that. You end up with a bunch of guys that are like doing this kind of thing
Yeah.
and never committing to anything.
You know what that reminded me of?
You're right, you're right.
Everybody hated Frank because he'd have a knife and he'd go
Right,
with his knife.
yep.
That might be real, it might not, I don't know, but
And what are you supposed to do with that?
Right.
And you
Shoot
say,
him.
you know what, I can stay
That's
here,
what you're supposed to do.
I can say, I can stay here all day out of your range and then
Right.
go fight.
Right, that's right. So,
Yeah, now I got a problem.
so, okay, well, maybe sparring's the wrong
which is why,
thing. We gotta figure out something.
yeah.
Maybe do
Realism.
we evolve zombie drill to the level where they really are able to?
Well, okay, what
Well,
we're
I'm
doing
just
is,
trying to figure out a way to where we're not just standing there doing jujitsu.
Kind of like judo.
After all, that's not correct. Maybe Randori would be,
Like
except that that's not involving the strikes and stuff unless you go ahead and involve the strikes.
well, that's what Judo Chris and I were doing, remember? We were doing this for judo.
Judo,
Chris. Chris Lemaire. At your house in Mishawaka,
I had
when
a
you
house.
were considering him the Sokudai of judo. He and I were doing more combat-oriented judo, which is the direction you were going at the time. Before it went back to Craig doing sport judo, it was Chris doing street judo. And so what we did was we started collar and elbow, and then we'd slap and kick each other
Okay.
into our stuff.
okay.
Coming back to
He went on, in fact, he took off and went to Washington State for, well, he was doing IU for college, and that was all pre-med. Now he was gonna go to one of the schools and become a naturopathic physician.
Oh, I didn't know
So
that.
He's probably already a doctor by now, it's been 10 years ago.
He was so into the MMA though, it was when it was just starting. It was like this maybe the third cage
Early
fight,
90s.
UFC,
Yeah,
yeah.
people still grabbing hold of
And she was loving it. There's some blue belt in Mishawaka teaching, and he was all excited. Maybe it was South Bend. He was so excited about it, like, oh, come on, there's a real martial arts. You know? And so he just kind of drifted away at that point. But what we were doing was we were doing that. We would cheat in with stuff like this to get into our throws.
Okay.
And then we would also finish. So it's kind of what we were doing basically is
Sure.
jiu-jitsu.
Why don't you talk with Dan and play around with a couple things?
You don't like finger
You know,
locks.
he's gonna come up with something interesting on top of what you were just saying,
Okay.
and find some little kind of a variation, just so there's some real activity going on when they're demonstrating.
Okay.
You know, I mean, whether it's close-in type sparring with some simple strikes and stuff, or whatever. you know.
Well, in
I mean, I
Hapkido,
just think it would be more efficient for them to actually have to defend against a moving object versus just stand there. It's good to stand there and learn the throws, but you gotta get to where it's at a practical level, and I think that's what we're missing.
in Hapkido we have people attack with whatever strength they want to attack with. But right now, because there's still white and yellow belts, we have them still going really slow like zombie speed, but it's whatever they want. It's not this. It's, you know, they do their punch,
Yeah.
they do their side kicks or whatever. That would work for these guys too, and you could slowly speed it up. So if I come in and he has no idea what I'm going to throw, and I do it, he has to react to that and do his thing.
Maybe we could do the zombie the normal way, and then say, okay, now the zombie has enough mental capacity to throw,
Right.
Some
This
attacks.
that attack.
and you can restrict it to the different levels, like blue belt, green belt, whatever, and say, okay, at this level, you know how to block, you know how to do basic throw. At the next level, they know how to do some strikes, they know how to, you know, and so the zombie can do those things if they can defend against those things.
But sparring, when I go like this, and I do like five things, and all he's doing is staying out of the way, that's not doing what,
No.
what we want is kind of that one attack, and you take me off balance right away.
Yeah.
That's what we're going for at Hapkido too. We did it at the gathering, not the gathering, at their greenbelt tests over at the hospital. Mitch and Dan and Faraz and I did this. It was what you're talking about.
Did we have a video of what you
Yeah.
did?
Yeah. And we beat the piss out of each other, but it was sloppy.
You were allowed to do one attack, and they defended, if they didn't defend against the attack, you
You
just
just
go
keep,
into another
keep
attack.
going. Yeah, yeah.
And so, okay,
And so it got ugly. I mean, we did good technique, but it was not pretty.
well, if
Yeah.
you step as if you're a zombie, you step out with a punch, and it's not just a zombie punch, but a regular punch. If they defend with a block and they don't do anything else, okay, now you've got some other attack to do.
If I go here
You got
and,
like 2 seconds to do something, if you don't, we're going on. to
right,
the
then we
next
go on to
attack.
the next, we go on to the next. I think that's fair, but I think we have to work people up to it.
Well, yeah, that's right.
See you guys.
Bye, Lana.
Bye.
Buy American, be American.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of what we're doing with Spirit Wind, and that's kind of what we did with their Greenbelt test with the guys. But they were master level guys. Well, for us, a second degree, but Mitch and Dan are
Well,
fourth.
they're all hired.
So they're able to do that, and even if they get banged around a little, they don't care. And we pulled off some decent technique, but I think you really have to work people up to that.
Well, that's right. If you're doing, right now, of course, they, well, their third cue, they would still be on that, they'd be starting down at blue belt.
Yeah.
And so it has to reflect their ability. I mean, if you haven't practiced that way before, you can't just jump in and start beating the snot out of each other, you know.
So maybe we'll do that. Anybody that comes in lower ranked than you, we'll make sure they start with zombies, and as they get more comfortable with their technique, we'll let the zombies punch and kick.
The zombies progress too.
Yeah.
Right now, what do your zombies do when they, all they is do that, okay.
So
we
then
we started out that way.
Yeah, that's how, well, that's where it all
And
came
then-
from, was Speedo.
And then we added the, okay, you know, we're gonna either kick, you know,
Right.
what fast, or we're gonna punch, but it wasn't like,
Yeah. It's not like you're doing, go ahead and try to throw me.
there was a couple guys who didn't quite understand the
Movement,
concept.
speed came natural.
You know, and like I say, a couple guys didn't understand the concept, but when they stood there and I stood here and they were coming here and I go,
You're not hitting me.
I gotta go, you know, you gotta keep a forward momentum.
Right.
So if you wanna fake a jab and then commit with a hook or whatever, that's fine, but you know, you just can't stand here. Cause like I say, I'm just gonna be here.
That's right. That's right. Until you really want to hit me, I'm not going to engage you. So,
Well, I think that can evolve then by the time they get up to zombie drills, their third, second, first cue type thing. Then they've really pretty much have gotten to a level where they're really fighting,
right.
you know, with control. I mean, you have to kill each other.
MMA gloves still might help.
Yeah. No,
I'm
not
not-
standing there.
I mean, and maybe even the foot gear.
Right.
You know, if we start throwing kicks in there at the serious black belt level, maybe.
Right.
If they have it, yeah, I guess if they have any kicking arts behind them, I mean, most of your everything you're teaching has some kicking.
Well, yeah, our Hapkido stuff, like I was explaining, kicks to the head score a point. But we're talking DDR right now, which really means like this.
Yeah.
You know, nothing real high.
Yeah, even with the foot pad on there, I mean, yeah, the result, you have to do it hard to get the result you're looking for.
Right. Although some of the kids, I swear they're gonna pop my knee backwards.
No.
I sparred with my little Hapkido guys, I'm like, "Pah!" I'm like, oh, don't do that.
Bobby
Yeah,
likes
yeah,
to
don't do
just
that.
have
Oh, I know.
Don't
I was-
bend that way.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, I have to trap this kid or I'm gonna get hurt. Every time I walk in, he's like, hey, Mac.
Boom.
I'm like, hey, stop that.
It's good to see you too.
All right.
Traditional way would greet somebody's, not to,
Okay, so we have to do Aikido sometime, and Mac wants to do some of his EQ requirements. So what do you want to do
let's
first?
do those first and we'll get into Judo, because that's not gonna take a lot. There's not a lot there for, we really kind of just need to go through some of the basic throws we've already got. And then add that little bit, of course, for Judo.
Second degree, yeah.
Because those aren't really throws, they just take time.
Yeah.
Let's go on the order. Let's go down on the map.
Yeah, I don't have that kind of facility in the, like, usually not even, if I can use it, two years ago. Yeah.
Scarfold. So scarfold is, my arm goes under your head, I cinch it nice and tight, all the way up to here, I'm pulling this arm up around me, and I can go all the way to the elbow, but I don't like my arm hanging out back here.
I don't like that, because that throws your center back and puts your center up high and they can really go over.
So
That's a mistake they do in judo all the time. They get that left hand up on that elbow,
right,
like that, and right there. All Mac has to do is realize what you're doing and he can keep your movement going and take you right over easy.
Looks like you can almost grab that key right here.
He could do, I'm not sure if they're allowed, are they allowed to do that in judo? I don't remember.
I think so, because they do deep throws all the time.
So all the more reason to keep that arm down, keep your
Right.
center down low, because here at the center that's important isn't his hips, it's his shoulders.
So, so we stay nice and flat, we're underneath here, our grip is in tight, hold it ourselves, chin down, chin our chest. And then what Judo Chris again and I were doing was completing our circle on the ground, and we use that motion now. We actually draw up a little bit. So now, because I bring my knee up to complete the
That's
circle.
that other circle you talked about earlier.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So now as you squirm, all I do is keep that circle. I don't fight you squirming, I just keep my circle. Good?
by maintaining both of those circles. You've got your head, hip, and all that circle, and you've got this circle that wraps him down, and he can't get through either one of those because he's not in a position where he can violate either of those circles and break them.
Great. So, that's that. So go ahead and let's do it.
Just turn 180 for the camera.
So my legs are sprawled this way. This bottom leg knee is coming up. Okay? So as you go ahead and fight that, all I do is draw up my circles tighter. Like this. Now, if I switch, I have to switch my hips. So now I'm flat on the ground here, and I'm drawing up to complete my circle. My arm is still under your head, and I'm taking my own hand, putting my hands together, and drilling my head back up underneath yours. Now at this point, I can actually pull your head in and get a choke out, or at least a neck lock. Usually you can get a tap out from it. But my goal as a hold down is just complete the circle and not let you get out. So go ahead and move. Stay right in. So down. So you're sprawling with your hips down toward the mats on this one, with your hips up toward the ceiling on this one. Okay. Fair enough?
Yeah.
I'm always trying to exploit vulnerability, but I'm trying to, sit in the seat.
Yep. Switch it.
Just switch your knees.
And head down, shoulders down. Head down, right knee up.
Okay. I think I can't tell which way. Is this the right way, sir?
Yes.
Okay. So pull this nice and hard up. There you go. Drill that down there. Oh, that's much better. Good. Now, as I fight, I want you to just make yourself heavy. Complete your circle to yourself. And don't fight me. As I go up, don't try to push down. Just stay in your circle. As I go this way, don't try to pull me back. Just stay in your circle. So if I spin, you just stay in your circle. See? As I come up, you just keep yourself centered. There you go. So you're not reacting to me. So. Switch this over.
Down, up there. Move your left leg back along his body. His left leg. Right knee, bend your right knee, slide this way.
Yeah.
Now remember, you've got the circle going around him this way, and you've got the circle that takes your shoulders and hips and knee all into a circle. So you bring them together, bring your right knee up.
Okay.
Slide it toward you. Yeah, now you're completing that circle that locks you down, and the other circle that locks him down.
Give a pull on your hand. Tighten up your neck. There you go. Good. All right, so all that's nice and firm. Your head is tight against you. Good. And then as I fight, you just complete the circle. Don't fight against me.
If he moves at you, just slide around with him. If he moves away from you, slide back with him. Don't sit up. There you go. Now, you will know that some people who do jiu-jitsu will cheat on those. They'll get this hand, the knife edge, right under here, and they'll just pull that up and knock it out. So you can-
Or even with the wrist bone and stuff.
Yeah, the wrist bone. They do that too. So, in judo, they do that too. They're not supposed to, but they cheat. They get things covered up so much they can't see, and they got that lock right in there. It's like half killing them. He tapped out real quick.
Yeah, that instructor did that to me. He did that. He's like, holy
That
cow.
But you can do that on the street. Just lock that in, get your head down, lock it in, you're knocking right out. Sometimes you gotta do it. Of course, in jiu-jitsu, we teach that, but I would not use it on the street if I didn't have to, because I don't like putting me on the floor, on the ground, because he might have some idiot over here that's waiting to come in and knock me over the head or something, you know. But if I got my whole body committed to holding this guy, why am I holding him down? Let's knock the sucker out and get out of here.
It's not doing the finish job, which we're looking for.
Once you don't want to grab all the way down, it's true.
Mac, let's go to Mitch. Mac already knows this shoulder roll
Yeah.
on his feet. We do this in Sergeant Harvey.
Sure.
So you've already learned that. You just didn't learn it on the floor. Sergeant Harvey style, I guess I didn't finish that. We go shoulder in the armpit, lock it in with the forearm bone here, step off balance, step the leg in front, and kick over. So we have a side, what we call a side mount. It's not the judo side mount, but we're mounted on the side of the mount. And we just keep that neck up. No, it's true. New people have been working on it. Okay. Spine lock. So I'm going to use my thumb on the chin. You find there's a hollow spot right there. Well, that's actually a pressure point back on the inside. So you can just kind of push that with your thumb. And then back here is a spot for your finger, just a little bit here. Right. Oof. Just like that. Yeah, I've done that with you do that with O-Uchi. Got it. Yeah, O-Uchi. Major inside reach. So yeah, so you can go straight back, and that's still a spine lock. You can just spin and you're spine locking, but when you spin and step, what you're looking for, yeah. You can do that in your right foot. You can do that on the outside of the body, or you can do it on the inside of the body, like I did with the Harai Goshi earlier. But what you want to do is make it fit whatever technique you're working on. Okay, so your spine locks are to help your technique, not to be your only technique. One thing Soka likes to do is this. Step people out. You got the off balance here and the off balance there. He does that a lot. And it's nice. This is Soka here. Likes to do this. Where you're off balance because your arm is this way and your leg is back this way. And he actually should do it because he'll slide all the way in like an arena and I can't do that. But I like to do whatever my technique is here and combine them. We've got a good EPO and a good spine lock. Yeah. Right?
Maybe the spine lock should be incorporated in the same go to the keyboard.
What are you trying to say? You want to see spine locks in the judo?
Well,
He likes that.
I've done some by accident.
Well, they fit so well. So if that comes
Yeah, I'm
in,
watching this.
and I'm going here for Jikido, we do this anyway.
Yeah,
Well,
that's what I'm
that's,
saying.
yeah, that's,
There's a spine lock.
yeah.
Yep. And so you do that combined with a technique. That's very good Jikido. Switch hands.
Yeah,
Tenchi Nagi,
Yours, past shoulder, all that, also all really relates to spine locks.
Right.
if it was not unusual for me to take a Tenchi Nagi instead of grabbing the neck and like that, I'd grab him by the side of the head, it's Kubi Shindo the neck,
Right.
which turns their head this way, which initially spine locked them and they fly.
Yeah.
A lot
I
of
think
does
for a
it.
guy like Rich Hayes, done.
A lot of does it in Jishin.
No, I can't, we don't throw that hard.
But
Yeah.
that's what you're talking about. That was a tenchi with a spine lock, and that's a Jishin technique already. But you could do that out of Jikido, for example. I could meet him here, draw out,
And just spin. Yeah.
and just spin.
That's initially, I think my hand would be, it coming in here would be like this.
Right.
I would just actually come in like that and then just.
Yep. And
Rich was a big boy. I had to do a lot to move
You
him.
had to, yeah, you really had to.
I would do it right here. Right on.
Right,
Your palm right there.
right there.
So that when you do your takumi, it spins my head. That's it. Just like that.
Well, that's yours. that was jujitsu.
Got that one.
That was awesome.
But now it's jujitsu.
It was very jujitsu. Like
That wasn't in the video because cameras in front.
That was
Go
nice.
over there in the center, man, you'll get a good picture if you do it. Your buddies at work say, wow.
I don't show him.
Oh, you don't
I showed one buddy at work, you and Mitch.
Yeah.
I said, here's what these guys work on. Not me, I said. You'll notice that I'm not in that airborne.
I
You
told
don't
him.
want them to see you doing something.
I haven't earned my wings, I told him. I don't get that airborne.
I told Alana, I'm like, when Mitch lands on his feet, it doesn't look as cool for me. Makes him look cool.
Well, I noticed when the first time you did it, you let out a sound. It's like you didn't really expect it. He's standing on 2 feet.
Right.
We
Yeah.
really ought to work on that, so that that becomes a way that we land when we get thrown.
Yep.
So that, you know, because that's unique to our group, nobody does it, we are it.
We do have a video somewhere in the archive somewhere of me throwing the Ninja Boys out in Montana that way. I got them all to come up over on their feet. We did all kinds of throws that way. Standing airplane
Yeah.
throw, Mariah Ghosh, Overruma.
That's something for you guys to work on.
They weighed like 120. And I
Oh,
weighed, I weighed
yeah.
They
85.
just go with paperweight. So,
Well, they're acrobats as it is,
Bend
so.
and fold like a rubber band.
Okay, so you got your 2 hold downs.
And you got those good too. I like the way you lock in on those, because you're keeping your center down and you're keeping, there's 2 circles there. One that locks him down and the other one locks you in position so he can't move you and take you out of your lock, your center. That's 2 main things on
I
that.
think I'm seeing one. It's supposed to. I don't see.
Go on down. So if we could talk with you.
I think it's the second, is it the leg circle you didn't see on the second one?
I see how I can rotate from here.
Well, that's, okay, think about a circle that goes through your head to your knee. Yeah. And you're locking into that, so you're completing the circle there. That's where you fold up.
Okay.
And you're keeping your circle there. And the other circle is your hands coming around, and he's locked in that circle, which is what holds him down. Right, you've got your head to hip and knee, and you've got your shoulders all the way around through that way.
Okay.
And
That's
really,
the 2 circles.
I think this is the same. To do that, you set that all up.
Your right knee should be up too. You shouldn't have it lay down. Your right knee should be up. Your one on your right side.
Your right,
The other right knee.
And it should be
There you go.
up.
it should be up.
Okay.
Up in the air? Oh, I don't do that.
I was gonna say, yeah, I was saying,
I don't do that. I feel like it lifts the hips
Yeah.
a little bit.
Okay. Well, that is how they do it in judo.
Oh,
But
okay.
if you want to put your foot down, if they don't say anything, I won't say anything. Of course, this is jujitsu. You want-
I was gonna say.
Don't straighten the leg. Don't straighten it, don't lock it straight, because that tenses you up and
Right.
your center goes up high. So let your right knee relax. Your left knee you want to keep maintained for your circle. Head to knee tight. Forward.
So go ahead and get all that. Here's what I was observing. His arms are working their way down to that sword cut, just like he's standing up doing his throw.
Yeah,
His arms are drawing in. Right now they've got me in the middle of them, just like he would have the whole body in the middle of a hip style throw. But they're actually working toward coming to center. That's where the circle is going. So I think this is the same as a standing position for a throw, more or less. True?
I'm seeing ears past shoulders right now
On that?
on that.
Yeah, here's past shoulders, definitely.
Well, yeah, but I don't know if that
So I
matters
don't
on
know
the
if that's
ground.
gonna change anything.
I don't think that matters here, because he's not standing up. His circle's horizontal here. See what I mean?
Right, the circle really goes down through his hips and head.
So if
around,
it's,
so that's not the same thing.
right, it's not the same as trying to stand up.
The variable.
This would be more like an ukemi balance, like when we're doing shoulder roll staying balance.
Right.
So the tighter that he can pull his knee up to his head, the better off he is. That's the
Yeah.
circle he wants to complete.
And the tighter he draws his hands to center,
Right,
toward your stomach, pull your hands right in to your stomach. That's your cut move, right down the heart, right to center.
right.
That's what keeps him to the floor.
This is getting better as you
And then
go.
as far as your legs, you just let your body slide around in whatever direction he's trying to turn. You never raise up, you never give him
So
any
basically,
kind
you're
of,
balling up the entire time.
don't raise up, yeah. Just keep your head down to your knee and he can pull up if he wants, but it won't take you out of center. So your
Right.
shoulders, your center never gets up into your shoulders, it stays down in your hips. Which he can't get that to move.
I was gonna say, you can't, he's got his hand clasped up there now, I don't, because you still can't roll him.
No, if I fight with him, I'm trying to lift dead weight and I'm twisting myself out of center. It's almost like doing a bad throw, like we talked about earlier. We trying to throw him like this.
But a bad throw kicks you out is better than no throw at all.
Well,
Correct.
see, as long as Mac is in center and maintains his 2 centers,
You don't
if
think
those
there's no,
two is out of center, he can't get into a position where he can
See here, Matt doesn't want me to do this. He needs to keep me drawn up this way with his elbow. Up this
That's
way.
where those two hands have to be drawn down to his stomach.
Because when I
Keep
get
you
around
from
here,
being able to
I have a lot
rotate.
more leverage. So as I start to turn, you cinch me up and draw yourself around
Yeah,
this
you have to feel his movement and stay with it.
So you're still completing your circle, but you're keeping me from getting my leverage too.
You gotta feel what their movement's doing so you can stay with it. Don't let them get a little over you or below you. You've gotta maintain it just like you do when you're doing a throw.
I think it's kind of right about here.
Yeah, and that's the position you're in when you're on the ground, right there.
Except your hands
Like this.
are, yeah, are kind of, yeah.
But it's the same, this is all the same. And this is all the same as this. So what I think he's got is kind of a shoulder roll position on the floor.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know how to, but that's.
The position you see from standing, go ahead and show it, and clarify it there. Standing from a throw and then show how that is when you're on the ground. It's the same position.
So I'm here, my hands are completing here. If I'm on the ground,
And you complete the circle.
It's the same way, if I'm doing this one, it's the same way here.
yep. In fact, let's do it as a kubinage, see how that goes.
I'll follow all the way
For
through.
that way,
Yeah.
it's one solid move up, and you never change. You're
There's
locked
the
in.
neck.
Cool!
Into there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That looked good from this angle.
Did you?
There was never a change. Once you got the technique, there was never a change at all.
You kept your center all the way through, and you were so far out of center.
Right. That's kind of cool.
It was a hard hit for Matt.
It is Makikomi.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you fall with them.
That's where breathing, that's one of these levels, I think, where they're gonna start getting breathing.
They have to do the hard falls. Well, they already are. The hard falls are.
They do those, well, breathing
You know,
hard.
like the whole time, like ever since he like said that from the beginning, like, and I should probably do that now.
Probably
And
a good idea.
are you on fourth level blocking yet?
Taking a bunch of strikes.
I did that with,
We did that the night that I babysat,
Right.
back in January.
Yeah.
I got to be here all by myself teaching everybody, it was fun.
It was fun.
I got
Everybody
in
talks
trouble.
about it.
So does daycare.
They asked me if you were coming back to teach again. I get a little upset when they ask me that. Oh, what's wrong with me? No, they do ask me
Jealous.
that. Exactly. Why don't we just all fourth level blocking?
Well, that's because I'm not following a pattern, I just go and have fun.
I don't think any of our requirement sheets actually say when we learn the levels of blocking. Yours don't, do
I
they?
guess it probably just fits the person.
This version doesn't either. I know we go through all 5 eventually, but I don't know
Yeah.
where you want them.
I don't think I would.
Well, I suppose if we're gonna have, where's Doe Jimmy? Because that's gotta be in there, and that's where we gotta.
They've done that
start
already.
grading
that's,
stuff.
yeah, that was the
Third cue.
That's the, oh, that's right, you just did that. So, if we don't do it for third, we definitely need to be doing it for second.
Right.
They've gotta be able to take punches and trade punches and stuff like that. So the hard falls and whatever later, you know, like you're already doing them. If you haven't had the breathing part, that will simplify what you're doing and just make it feel better.
What are the five, what's called the 5 levels of blocking? Should we call them?
Show you real quick. Force on force, first level.
Yep.
I just match this force with mine.
Yeah.
Second level is where you just let it get out of the way, right? Move into the technique. Third level, okay. Oh, sorry. It's actually not
Move the
touching,
target.
just move.
Just
Yeah.
not being out
I'm
of the
not
way.
there, they can't hit
And
me.
the way I like to do that, in my Hapkido guys at least, is if I have a joint lock and I'm not applying any pressure yet, he throws his punch, then I use, why don't you punch in my face? If he throws his punch at my face, then I use the movement of the technique to avoid getting punched.
Move the target, third level.
That's third level. Okay, fourth level.
Move the
then-
target is third level?
Move the target.
Or not be where the, okay, so,
Say
okay, move the
good.
target, I'm
Move the
the target,
target,
yeah,
you ain't there.
yeah, okay,
Yeah,
I'm the
if
target.
If he punches in my face again, and I go just straight back, I've also moved the target, taking him farther out of balance. So it doesn't have to be side to side necessarily. It
He
just
lost
not
his
having-
momentum behind the drive, so
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so then fourth level, go ahead and, don't do a hammer.
Well, the way we start practicing fourth level
It's just,
is
Lynn?
you wanna show the.
shoulders on shoulders, and the other person starts punching in the ribs.
We do it, let's go with
Well, we
Ken.
first got to learn the breathing part.
We do it with choke defense, he already knows it.
Well, yeah, we do the choke thing too, which I taught then.
So, chin down,
Yeah, chin down,
Right.
smile, all that stuff.
and then hit me in the ribs and all this area right in there, go ahead. And I just keep squeezing him, so he has to keep resisting the choke, and he keeps hitting me, and I have to equalize pressure with his strikes. Now, most of my guys that I do with Soka, I have them hit 4 specific points. You can do the choke. I have them go chest, chest, ribs, ribs, chest, chest, ribs, ribs, chest, chest.
It gets harder and harder with the punching until they say, okay, that's good. Because each time they're breathing, they have to breathe out when they get hit. You want to balance the pressure between the strike, punch, whatever it is, the energy that's coming at you as it hits your body, you have to breathe out to balance it. If you don't breathe out the right amount, you won't balance the pressure and it will hurt.
So we did that as a white belt in Yoshikai.
Okay.
And they actually put us on the ground and would actually have a guy step up on your stomach and back off, step up, back off.
Okay, well, we do it from standing, so that
Step,
someone's taking a swing at you, it's like, okay, if you eventually get to where you can take whatever punch they throw at you, and you just balance it out on, as soon as they touch you, you breathe out. So if you learn to breathe with the amount of energy that tags you, even if you don't see it, if you're getting sucker punched or something, then you can trade to different parts of the body and take kicks to the head and all kinds of neat stuff, take full punches to the throat, whatever. We've done that kind of stuff.
Go ahead.
It's a glancing.
Yeah. With the head, we breathe and we also turn this way. So they go. So I'm using that as part of my technique. I'm actually going to take that as.
You're going to blend with it
Exactly.
to take out its
You're doing
momentum or energy.
To a couple different levels of blocking there, besides turning, moving the target, blending,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff, but you're still taking the punch. And if you don't see it quick enough to blend, you can still take the punch.
Right.
I mean, I've had guys full crescent kick and just wham, just with whatever, you know. And there were some guys that were in class years ago that had such good focus with their kick that they could kick you right exactly where you wanted them. They wouldn't be absolutely here, up here, whatever, they'd be exactly. And I had guys that would do that, you know, and I'd even take the punches and kicks
And
then.
you go to Yoshikai never fist.
Lord.
And it just wham, you know, and
Take it. So go.
Well, sometimes you're stunned so much at first that you just keep going.
But the thing is here though, you're learning how to breathe and absorb and balance the energy so it doesn't cause damage. It doesn't hurt as much, but you're also realizing that you can take it. And so it doesn't devastate you mentally so that you can't fight. Because sometimes you get tagged really good and it just does a number on you. And you just can't go. It's like you're overwhelmed and your brain shuts down. But if you're used to getting tagged, getting hit, it's like, okay, you know, no big deal. You just keep doing what you're doing, you know.
The Jishin, Mitch and I, always, and Bob, he was in brown belt levels. We always did them with the crescent kicks you were talking about. So we could practice our crescent kicks, and the other person could, oops, see, could practice their fourth level.
Yeah. The thing is to breathe it out, balance the pressure,
Yeah.
and discover that you don't get hurt.
Okay, and then fifth level.
Fifth level.
He throws a punch, and I can block hard with the intention of doing damage to his arm, possibly breaking a bone.
Block break.
And we used to do the palpitation of boards so that we would go
And
bone
that
density.
does. In fact, I just talked to an orthopedic surgeon not a week ago, a friend of mine that moved to Arizona, he's moving his practice, but we talked about vibration and how that works, and he said, when you hit against something, or something hits you, he said that triggers a vibration, and he grabbed off some fancy stuff. And I said, so basically you're causing the body to build stronger bones. He said, yeah, it increases bone density quite a bit. He said, we like to have patients walking as soon after surgery as we can because that vibration of stepping and the muscle movement and everything else is what triggers the building of bone density. And I just kind of smiled when he said it.
Yeah.
And then I handed him my book that I wrote on vibration exercises that we put together.
Yep.
And he said, this is pretty neat. And so that's what's happening with the board. We have a flat board but like a paddle, like when we were kids, only it's just a 1 inch pine or whatever with a slit down the middle, so when you hit the thing together this way, it would rack it together and make a nice pop.
Like a tuning fork.
Like
Yes.
a tuning fork, there you go. Only, and so just with blade, with the blade, you cut down the middle, and you get to where you start out flat, and then you get to where you can do it this way, and eventually you're able to be banging that thing pretty hard, and it doesn't hurt, you know.
You
So when you
realize-
block hard enough to break somebody's arm, it's like, boy, that hurts.
Gyms now are using the platform vibration.
I put a hand on it, you push ups, and that's it.
No, it's whole body. You can stand on it, or you
Well,
can
you
lean
do
on it.
different exercises while you're on it, or you're,
You can stand there and you can practice your balancing. I mean, they shake good too.
yeah.
And or you can stand there and do curls. And, you know, a lot of, or you can just lean on with your hands and do push-ups, so your feet won't be vibrating then. And there's some, you know, they're doing
That's the same stuff. but-
almost the principle. Did you ever see commercial shaker weight?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that wasn't probably the greatest idea, but the principle was kind of there a little bit.
Yeah. I understand you. Well, finishing this up, it's not just center my forearm, center his forearm. We teach specifically to hit the elbow, hyperextend, right? Or in Hoshin even, we hit the back of the hand or the back of the wrist. So we punch here, we block here, we do inside blocks, whatever it is. And if it's legs, same thing. You can block it, forearm block or knife handed down or something. You can do that with your shin. So the point is we're attacking what they're attacking us with, so they won't attack us with it again.
Yeah, it's gonna hurt too much. Yeah,
Right.
and we're lucky to break
You want to
it, so-
disable it, in other words.
Yeah.
That's where the Kung Fu guy was real good, because he did a lot of the lock break techniques. He would actually, you know, trap it like that and break you behind the elbow.
Okay.
Things, you know, that's where I learned lock break technique in theory.
I had a video.
Practice.
I don't know if you remember this video. It was it Thai kickboxing or whatever?
Yeah, and the guy
There,
just
the guy throws a kick, and the other guy blocks it so hard his leg broke right there. And the guy didn't know his leg was broken. He swings it back and goes to set it down, and the leg's folded in half.
It makes me cringe. There's a tin
Oh,
pin.
I
It goes
see it.
straight through both bones. So when he put his foot down, he put it like rubber.
It didn't hurt till he put that thing down, and it bent right in the middle of his
Well, those guys
leg.
are
And,
keen
oh
to
my
build
God.
up bone density.
That hurt watching.
Theoretically, they're supposed to be
They
pretty
didn't
good.
show us his bone came through after that. Well, but that guy hit so hard, broke his leg.
Those guys,
Both bones.
That's four
they
nipples
build
block.
up their,
These are on your stuff.
their
You better go on the rest. You got both your own down. You got your
breaking.
spine blocks.
That's scary to think about. I don't like baseball bats. They hurt.
I'm just saying.
People can get hurt doing that stuff.
Hana Ghosh is like Overruler.
He was actually good. It's kick.
So that
Now, my instructor, I
actually,
never seen him do, his instructor, he was out of Florida, and I saw him,
if you're gonna do it
demonstrating that.
and sweeping through, you just kind of sweep through. Almost did it hot Tito
Yeah,
style.
you just changed. What style was that?
Yeah, I'm a spirit wing. I love that throwing spirit wing for that reason.
Yeah.
Like if he's not coming toward me, he's kind of pulling or not doing either one. And I come through, and I come right to here. That's a really cool throw for out
To get ready for the next guy.
Yeah.
Throw him back or get him,
Yep.
hope that, which is, you don't know if he's gonna get back up there.
Well, that's true. That's true. Or I don't have to move on to the next guy. I just really like, if I'm moving that way, I keep moving that way. So do that and I spin out. I can keep spinning and still engage him, but it's just that hip movement that's really cool. All right.
Is that all the second cue stuff?
Well, of course not. There's tons more. But he wanted to look at Hana Ghosh, which is why I just
Oh,
threw it.
That's cool. Yeah, it's a good throw.
No, you threw me in the hip throw.
And then throw your leg up, yeah.
You said set up like
Over Ruma. So set it up like you're going to do a front kick over there. Okay. There, and then keep this here, and then tip me over it, and like so.
And keep your leg bent.
Leg stays bent the whole time.
Right leg lifts up his right leg.
Oh, he did a hip throw.
Good for
Right
him.
almost, yeah.
Yeah, it was like the foot part came in late.
All right. Don't throw me this time. Put your foot where it belongs. No. So you're already set up for the hip throw.
Yep.
Set up here, and stop me over.
Get your left leg in there a little closer so you got center.
Yeah, get under it. All right. better, huh?
Well, why don't we use Armando
Okay.
so you can see better what he's doing? He's still trying to do either overroom or garage. He's not getting in there for the high.
Okay. You're gonna throw him. Okay. You're gonna go. So don't throw him this time. You want the right or the left? Oh, this is fine. Sure. So draw your leg up, pick the other one up.
Figure four.
You're
Yeah,
pushing
right.
against his leg.
And you still need to be farther into the center than that leg for it to work. Ready? Draw that, pick the foot up, you still have the center.
I just say too far away.
Armando's really giving you a forward stance here, so get farther into. That's better. Okay. Don't quite throw it again, get yourself in the right spot. Nope. You want to put this leg on this leg, so when you're in a position, you're here. You be low, so come over your head. So you're going to be right about here. If you're out here, this is anything, it's not even over room, your legs are already there on the spot. Right. So keep it here, and then you're gonna stand up as you can. Just like any other thing. Right. Okay. Feel like you can throw? One more second. Okay, one more. Hopped around.
Oh, right. Oh, more, so that.
That's better.
Ready?
Too far forward. If you're centered and you can pick them up with your leg, then you go, okay, but you're starting to muscle like we were talking about earlier when I was demonstrating that approach. So get in center, pick them up and bow. That's better. Your pickup was good. Let's get your leg in. That's best you've done today.
Leg
Yeah.
was late though.
It was late, but it helped your throw. It got there.
But he didn't throw it out. He did keep it touching
Right.
his. But it was late in the game.
Right. So, good. Just get your foot in position early.
All right.
And honestly, this is still an issue with your overrooming too. You get in the habit of going here because we drilled you for years, over a year now, doing this. We don't want that. We want this one.
Yeah, that's a little bit of more myself getting that and balancing on one foot. I was just getting used to this.
Okay.
Your right foot is too far away.
Okay. You hip through.
Yeah,
You did the hip through on it then.
Yeah, look at that one. Leg was late.
So, no matter, you didn't maintain your own center level. So if you're in the center, you do you're cheating. Because you're not centered and set up for it, you're leaving this room there with your throw. And you're both off balance. So, it's the same thing. You're setting them up for a hip throw and then picking the leg up. So we gotta get the leg up right to begin from the tip. Anything else I'm missing?
Just a little bit throw it into your.
Yeah.
Is that the right timing? Like around here?
No. No. Do it again. The whole thing. Step forward with your block. No. No. Just do your jiu-jitsu. No, that's not how you do it in jiu-jitsu. Do your basic white belt. Sit up. There. Now shift your hips. Now bring your leg around. All the way into position. Now pick up your foot into position. Yeah.
Does it do better to go higher or lower? Or
what matters is where his hips are. Mac has to keep his hips below Armando's, just like any other guy.
But as far as his leg, that pickup of the leg, does it work better if it's higher or lower? Or?
Well, it works better if he chambers to it so it's just at Armando's waist. If he goes higher than the waist, it's counterproductive.
Yeah, he's gonna hold him back.
That wasn't so bad. It's kind of the way your Okaruma used to be. You get him on your leg and then you would lift him with your leg. That's kind of what you're doing right now. Otherwise, it's pretty good. But yeah, normally you want his belt to sit on top of your belt, basically.
When I see you throw it like that, I usually see your leg is virtually parallel.
It should be. It should be right along so that it's basically in line with your own belt.
Yeah.
So that,
And when I saw Max do it, Max was down here. You know, when he's going into it, I'm seeing that, but I'm thinking, wait a minute, if he's gonna flip him over, would it be here? Certainly not my world, but just picking up the little things that I'm watching.
you're right, and that was
Your leg is parallel.
Yeah.
How does that make a difference?
We have been saying to you, you need to chamber your kicks higher for these throws, and that's all the reaping throws are like that, so that's true. So higher knee, stay centered. You want your knee high, but your hips low. Now get your knee like people. Set up for it. There you go. Seems it's really low, right?
Would the position for Ukiko's be better? Half turn, not full turn?
Turn it all the way.
Because he's still turning all the way for Okocha.
Okay, good point. So you know how Uki goes, you get a little less body because your arm is coming up and you're only turning this far instead of this far. Same thing with this thing.
What you're doing, when you want to do this throw, if you're coming in here, your hand will be up here for Ukiko's. That part right now doesn't matter. I want to be kind of sideways, not all the way in with the hip. I want to be kind of here with my center here, so that when I've got my foot here, as I bring my hands into my circle and come around this way, I'm tipping with this. You see the shift picks him up with this leg. That's the throw. And if your hands are following that circle, then he comes right up because you're taking his center and you're bringing it up over. Your hands and your feet work together. You don't want to get hip all the way in.
Right.
Just kind of sideways. And then here.
It's really the same setup as Okaruma, so all the things I used to say about Okaruma apply here.
Right.
You know, you're
Yeah.
kind of teeing up to him on these techniques. You're not putting your butt cheek up. Just like your inside view. Tee up to him like
Yeah,
your inside
there you
view.
go.
It's the same.
It's like Uchi.
Try to Okaruma? No. No. I want you to do Okaruma. I want you to do, Uki.
Ukiko's. Just don't turn your body all the way for a hip throw. Just a half hip. And he's on the side of your leg, he's on your leg, not your back. And it's like tipping the T-top. Too much hip. You're way too far around.
Do you think that him worried about that? You know, he's doing his easy block and then punch, he's that stop. That's where I think he loses setup, train of thought.
Could be.
I mean, when you come in, it's like he gets to here and he's fine, but then all of a sudden he starts to think.
At that point right there where you've done the strike, you're not gonna turn your body anymore.
Right.
Just get your left leg side shuffle in, if you will, and your right leg's gonna turn so it's sideways against the front of their leg.
So after you've done your counter strike, you're already set up.
You're set,
Just gonna do
right
this.
there. Just shuffle in and leave your leg sideways so it's in front of his right leg, and then you tip sideways as you bring your hands together and you'll bring them up over your hip. And over your leg.
Okay.
Stay sideways straight.
Yeah, that's an improvement. Not too much butt cheek now, I don't turn too far.
You want to be sideways. Remember, you're lifting sideways, not this way.
I feel like I have things set up, but I feel like I'm really constricted with it. I don't have enough power. Well, it should be from the movement, which is what you're saying. You don't want to freeze for a second. You want to move right into the flow.
What if you just did the block and then went into the throw without the stopping for the punch?
When you're here, just stand straight. Don't step forward or anything. Step in, sideways. In other words, I'm doing this, okay? Now, the rest of the move, I'm going to step here. Right here. That's where I want to be. See, my foot's in the right place. And if I've got to hold the hand with the block, I've got, because I'm already here, all I want to do is shuffle in. Right there. I don't want to turn my hip. I just want to shuffle in right there. And then your hands come together. When you tip sideways, that lifts up automatically. And that's your throw. Okay? Don't turn all the way. So Armando, just stand straight. Don't step out or anything. Just stand there and let him do it. You can hold a hand out if you want.
Give him
You
something
got the
around.
right position for the block. Okay, now, there you go. Hold them in tight.
That looks like a good setup right away.
Snug them right in close. Reach around, hold them in tight. Now, keep your left foot, or keep your right foot there so that you've got it pushing against him. And then tip over this way with him. Beautiful. Hey.
Bring your hands back in front.
That's the throw. Now just tip. Tip and turn. You've already lost yourself because you waited too long. Just step in and do it. You did it good. That first time you just did beautiful. You're not stepping in sideways. You're trying to twist it. You can't twist it. You're stepped in. You did you're here. Just right here. Just bring that foot in and lift. Don't twist your body. Now, intent. It's an intent. Throwing. Stay in center. Moving out around you.
That's the idea.
You're in the right ballpark.
Yep.
Came up over because you tipped and lifted him with your leg. A little more energy behind it, you'll do it.
Yep.
Just don't turn all the way around. You're not doing no coach.
Remember, you're doing a good job practicing the break. Really good. So, I think the idea is right now, Mac. It's a matter of going from start to finish in one fluid movement.
Don't hop in and then stand there trying to get position. Just go in and do the throw. And eventually you'll get it perfect.
Yeah, definitely.
you've got everything technically correct. Now it's just a matter of getting your timing and, you know, get comfortable with it.
It's the idea. You don't have enough tip and turn on them now. You have to make sure you bow.
I'm not getting my leg up like at all. I'm like getting my leg to here.
That's where you have to chamber, that same thing we're talking about with kicks. You gotta chamber that leg, get it up there.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're definitely
That
getting
comes
there.
over that leg.
Yeah.
By getting that leg where you want it, you're getting his brain, his center of gravity is being pushed up high, and he's being led, because this is leading him jump up.
Okay, that's about enough. Armando's gonna take a beating if we don't quit doing that.
Hey,
Poor
can
guy.
I try that setup with
Yeah.
Mac here? Just to
Absolutely.
see if I can
Go
see
on.
and see if I
You
can
can
work.
see it, I see if you can do it,
So,
right?
yeah.
What do
I
you want, round up? This is-
Yeah, right. But from the
No,
punch,
that's pretty good, really.
you're doing your jujitsu.
Yeah, actually, here.
Oh, okay.
It's the other
It'd be here.
Yeah.
Okay, here, and then you're moving in like into the center. Is that right?
Do you want me to show you the footwork he's working on? Because it might be easier.
Yeah, maybe it's a.
So it's, in this case, he's throwing a right punch. So right foot, this way. Counter punch here. This foot comes in for a hip throw, but we're not doing the hip throw. We're coming.
You're just coming sideways in.
Sideways, so-
Hit the belly.
Yes, point of your hip, or the side of your hip, right down the center of his body.
Okay, that's what I think I'm seeing. It's just how you're entering into that is here, right? Is that what
Yeah.
you?
Only really get deep with your first step.
So okay, I'm gonna come in here. Oh, there. Okay.
So now when you bring your other foot up, it's in center.
Yep.
And then
Right hand around
here-
the wrist.
Oh yeah. There. And then I
Like
chamber it up. And then I'm just gonna pull.
So
And
cut.
basically
Pull
put
him
my,
to
hand-
you,
put my
tight,
hands to me and put my hands back in
tip
front
your
of
body.
me. Chiquito, watch.
Yeah. Right.
My hand back in
Exactly
front.
right.
Okay.
Yep.
It's
That's
just
it.
those setups.
Yep.
Well, I did get a little something out of it.
It is definitely like that. It's definitely that Chiquito movement.
Well, and I was gonna tell him to look at your watch.
Right.
When you get that arm back there, Soka Kim actually told me one time, look at your watch. And I went, oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, that's what time it is.
It's time for Mac to be on the floor.
Or one of us.
But that's how you complete the circles, that's how you make your circles. The two circles that you used to hold him down earlier, that's the same two circles you're doing here.
Right.
I just don't know, it's getting that hole here, and well, it'd be here, and then bumping in, and at the same time, I can see where, that's a little tricky on the setup, because you're trying to come in here, of course, I'm gonna grab and then shuffle
Yep.
here, and then,
Right.
of course, my
And
feet aren't together.
you did the hip throw the way Mac was doing it. Yeah. Right.
Actually, I think you're right, now that I feel, I know right where he went.
Hip throw
Yep.
on that one.
Yep.
I know right where he went, because I can feel him still on right here. You were here and not here.
That's
Just so
right.
you don't feel it tomorrow.
I don't feel that tomorrow. I'm not the one hitting there. But if I were just to, you guys jumped into that. I think you guys did something when you that.
Oh yeah.
You guys were
Sure.
like that,
Mm-hmm.
and I can see your setup that's being very advantageous
Yep.
when you jump.
Well, that's the Jishin way of moving.
Yeah, because now see I'm already tight. I'm pinned.
Sure.
And all I gotta do is, like say, pull him from here, and that jump, I know you gotta learn it the slow way first, but I thought, right here, I'm just,
Yes. Yep.
When we do that in jiu-jitsu, when we do it in jiu-jitsu,
hamstring
you
there.
get that jump, if you will, it's a side shuffle to bring the bodies together and get that lift with the leg and the hip to do that throw. It's when you step in there and you've got your strike, then you shuffle in, and that's where you do one movement from the shuffle. It just picks it right up and brings it over.
Yeah, because when you guys did that, it was sweeping action.
It is. It's really cool because you got a lot of mass in motion and all that circular movement.
I mean, I was very impressed when I watched it on video. Seeing it live was good, but watching it on video, that's why I had to show one of the guys work.
I spent,
You gotta see this.
I spent 3 years trying to convince Soka that it wasn't possible to do that. Between my second and third degree in Jishinru, he wanted me doing those throws. And I said, Soka, it doesn't make sense. I've been doing it for 3 years, it doesn't work. So of course he's like, well then show me what you're doing. And I said, well now try it like this. So I tried it and it worked. After 3 years of me saying it doesn't work.
I've heard that kind of stuff before. That don't work. I've had people
Yep.
tell me that.
I'd be like, Soka, I can't jump and throw him at the hip. I can't do it because I have to be under his hip to throw him. He's like, just do it, just do it. 3 years of that, and me banging his.
Don't think,
you know,
don't
yeah,
think, just
yeah.
do, just do.
Finally, I just did it because he told me to, and it worked.
Can't do it for you.
Like I said, I felt the hamstring. I hold my other leg up too long, too long. I think, yeah, but that's all right. It's old age strength.
You get a little older.
That's not what's gonna give.
Wait till you're my age and you'll be having other people do it for you. It's not what I can do, it's what I can teach you to do.
I mean, you didn't hear one of these
Okay, so
systems.
that's what he wanted to do.
That's what you wanted to do.
Okay,
I
good.
told Alana probably 4:30, which is really soon.
Oh, oh, wow.
I can tell her 5 o'clock if you want. You guys want to eat when we finish?
Well, gonna eat something somewhere, yeah. Definitely.
I'll send her a text saying we'll quit at 5 and we're all going to eat together. Is that all right with you guys?
Yeah, that works.
I'd like to still get some chicken. I keep saying that.
Okay, so
I'll send it text.
go ahead and text her that. I'm trying to think what we want to do. We got the Jishin stuff last time on video. What I'm trying to do is get videotape of the different methods of moving on center with the different styles, like TDR, Jiu-Jitsu. It's different from Jiu-Jitsu. It's different. We haven't done Jiu-Jitsu, that's what we're trying to do. How do we move on center and do Jishin-Ru? How do we move on center and do Dodan-Ru Jiu-Jitsu? How do we move on center and do Hoshin Jutsu? How do we, what does it mean when we say move from center or move on center? It's different for each of the styles. And so that's what we've been trying to identify and clarify here. Eventually, because it's all going to be put in the book, we've got to be able to figure out how to say it in words. What does that really mean, And put our dots on the floor and show the movement of it. Because here we move on center, we stay right on center. Here we move on center, we move the center around, but we're still moving in center. The two simple basics for like two hold downs, Kasukami, Kata, Karuna, or Kata Kata. Two basic things that allow you to stay on center. Even though you're on the floor, you can still be out of balance while you're laying on the floor. But we need to identify, like we did today, how to maintain that balance, how to maintain your center so they can't take you out of balance. Could we go through the Jukido then? Since we give just basic Jukido for a refresher course and then go on then into, because Jukido is quick and easy, basic movements. Shonuchi, Seiwandu, Udafuri, Scooby.
Well,
Let's got a couple of those dots to put on the floor. We have all
see where our center stays. So I would start over the center.
So when you're using, and you're doing the 3 exercises, Shonuchi, I'm sorry, that's like, disregard that part. High parry, Udafuri, and Seiwandu. Shonuchi, yeah, high parry.
Yeah.
You want us to move on that same
That
line?
moves on center, yeah. Even though we're moving center, we're moving back and forth.
We can, I believe we can do that on center.
Oh, I see.
Well, that's where you turn the foot and do.
Well,
That's really, see, that's not Jukido.
No. And see, that's what we're trying not to let Jishin people do. Step and end up over here instead of.
Yeah,
and that's what we're,
that's why I put the dots down, so people say, yeah, they're moving on center. No, they're not.
I feel like if I come from my high parry and my hands are up on that spot and I stay on the same line to finish, I'm doing Jukido.
Yes, that's Jukido right there.
And I think you're right, we can hop and do that without a problem.
You can hop, but I got, sure. And we do the hop when we're doing some of the throws, like rear projection stuff.
rear projection if you had a bigger distance or a
still-
taller guy.
Right.
We're still moving though away from our original spot. We're turning on center in our body, but we're not staying on center with our movement. You know what I mean?
Our center moves on a straight line.
Our center is moving. Actually, it doesn't because we cross step. We cross step.
Oh, are you talking about,
To do the exercise, we step here and we cross step.
for a rear
Right
projection?
on the turn.
Yeah, rear projection
We
is
end up,
there.
Yeah, we definitely do that on the rear projection, but I don't think the high Perry does. You always just came straight up, you know?
well, yeah, I guess you're right.
Well, I think from a, well, it probably depends on the technique.
It does, yeah.
Because, I mean, in theory,
Well, the first step is what determines the technique.
so if it's a, what if it's
Well,
a,
that's not even a true statement. It's not the first step. The first step determines if you're moving into the person or around the person.
Correct.
My first step takes me here.
if I got a club attack, you're gonna do a high
I'm
five.
gonna step here.
So on the
So I
outside,
moved
we'll
around.
have the-
My first step was a holly.
Or I go inside projection
And do
a high
Yeah.
Perry.
the inside.
Which kind of looks like it would furry when I get to do an application, but.
Well, it would be depending on the throw you do.
Right.
If you come in with Kubinagi, then you're come high.
Yep.
If you're in, you're moving in center, is that what, Rimi, Tenchi, Tenchi,
And she, right.
excuse me, Tenchi Nagi. Better above the table than below, right? So if you're moving into center, if the attack is there and you block on the inside, your hands come up, here and around to do your throw,
Like a tension.
or here and drop.
Right. We could do tenchi either direction.
So you really have stepping in, or you can even step here and go outside. So if you start out with a Hamni cross step, you're going to move to the outside of the attack, or to the outside of the attacker. Even if you're doing a high parry either time, doesn't matter.
But even,
You can do a high parry here as you step around.
but if they have commitment and we're not there to hold them up, in theory, are we really just not opening the door?
Well, we're redirecting, that's our second level of blocking. We're not stopping with force, we're just moving around it, move the target, or we move them,
Right.
depending on what we do.
Yeah, because if you really truly had a punch come at me, I'm really,
Sure.
so I'm not even, I'm just, yeah, I'm not really,
Yeah, you're not dancing around.
all I did was catch him here, collapsed on him here,
You drew him in,
and drew him in.
then you did a
Yeah,
sayo and
sayo,
you projected him
Yeah,
down.
and then, yeah, so I'm sitting here going, okay, well then, actually, because we did it where we would have 1 foot planted all the time.
Okay.
We did, and that's what it was. It wasn't we stayed on center, we did it where 1 foot stayed planted. It's like, we come in here, and then we turn, and come up, almost like a Kokunagi.
Yeah, right. Very much.
I will feel that. I can tell you that right now.
Call your wife and tell her she needs to be available when you
I
get
ain't
home.
cortisone.
That's something that,
Give me the poison.
Now, I'm
Crossway.
doing this with my Omni. I'm coming to this side of the center, then that side.
Yeah, and that's the setup for Kokyu. You step in, draw them in, and then now you've got them locked here, and you're gonna step back and do your sayo.
Yep. Now, when you say that's the setup for Kokyu, the inside Kokyu?
Yeah,
Okay, so it's coming in here and reaching around.
Center there. I would do the Omni here.
yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
that's what I was trying, I think I was trying to say to him.
Okay, and you guys were on the inside of the body. I think the Omni sits you up to the outside for the Kokyu, which is also the
Yeah.
Aikido Kokyu. You stay on the outside of the body.
Yeah, because I don't think on the inside, well, maybe you would. If you were to come here, I'd come here, and then rather than reverse here,
Yeah, it can be done that way. I don't think it's as clean.
No, you were way out of center, but yeah.
well, I'm way
We'll
off.
keep that in the video, just.
Yeah.
Well, it requires a hip movement that's not really Jukido. So as I come around
Here.
here,
Left your hand behind.
if I try to do my high carry this way, I bring you around. When I try to reverse this
That's
is
already the reverse.
yeah, it's already reversed over his heels now. So
Yeah, your movement, the whole movement was reversing for him.
right, right. It doesn't reverse my movement, but it's reversing his movement, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's not a Kokyo at all.
That's not a Tokyo at all, though.
No.
Okay. I don't know how I got into that,
But
though.
that's a good arena. Like if you
Would that, would that be the arena?
because when you come here
Yeah.
and you walk out of it, it's
Yeah.
going to be an arena.
Would be a tenchi.
That's what I call it, because we just call that inside tenchi. What, I guess, what's the tenchi, we usually thought we did kind of at arm's length. You know, well, that's where you said, you know, grab the
Yeah,
spine.
right.
Well, and we didn't really do tenchi with the spin. We did it simply just turn the body and then kind of a forward step and
But we had an inside projection and the outside projection. And,
Yeah, well,
and the inside projection truly, you know, I can never get a definition from Soka Canada, what was
I
the
guess
difference?
the thing to do is just do one. Just step in and do the throw for a basic and start from there and you will see.
So,
Here, I'll throw.
Yeah.
So that would just be a basic tension.
That's basic with centripetal, as we say, and
he's
turning.
going around, right.
Right. And then the other one, we wouldn't make a complete turn. We just come in and the circle would be this way, where you're just taking forward and you kneel down on one knee. Remember that? I did it earlier.
Yeah.
I did something.
Just this.
Right there.
Oh.
Not, don't take him backwards, you're taking him forward.
Taking the way he.
Take him
this
the way
way?
he's already going.
Oh.
Like a Titan?
Or,
Okay.
well,
Or,
Kumi Nagi, is that what, Tenchi Nagi, yeah, to me it was the same
You
thing.
mean this way?
Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a tension. And it's also a kubi for Jukido because I went around his neck. Right? Jukido, we call that kubi.
Well, we don't really go around the neck, we just catch the back of the head.
Okay.
Come
That,
down
yeah,
forward,
we,
whatever.
actually, it almost was like a slap strike, just, it's like crack,
Yep.
you know, and then that would be what we got.
That
But
makes
the,
sense.
I guess, okay, the inside projection was more of the hand back in our exercise.
That's what I'm talking
I think I remember now.
That's what I was for.
When we did the inside tension, we just simply stepped in and then
Yes.
stepped back and
Yes.
did this. We didn't spin, the circle went this way.
Okay, no, we spun, what I remember was we spun.
Well, that's true too, that's a different technique. I mean, that was our inside whatever, but on this one, we just simply stepped in, and then we trapped the body with our block and everything, and then we just take off and drop to a knee that
That's the
way.
tenchi I learned for Jukido.
That's what I got my brain.
I know, I remember doing this though too, where we came up and instead of throwing them there, I would spin all the way to here somehow and then do the
That
same.
would be the inside tension that he was talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're both correct, I just trying to, we're missing one here.
Well,
That's the straight in, straight down.
Yeah.
and part of what
Kind of
we,
the high parry, here, I think. Drop
part of
the
what we
knee.
had to learn was, and I would say, so Steve was the one who always pushed it, was you don't always throw the person over there. What if your family's?
Yeah, sure.
You always have to,
Pick
you
a
know,
direction.
take, you know, look
Well,
around.
yeah.
You may have to spin them a little bit until you find a clean area and then throw.
Yeah,
That's why he let my daughter Sierra run the mat when she was around. She walked around with a bottle, and he goes, because we're not gonna throw into the baby. Well, one time we threw into her. One of the guys rolled up, knocked her on her butt. She fell, holding the bottle and cried. But she was all right. But he said the principle is that people will learn that they don't want to hurt babies. So they don't.
so that funny limp that she has, this is what
Her foot turned out that way. I told her it was that way from birth.
she's born that way, yeah.
Okay.
Come on over here, because I want to do the outside tenchi with the hame here. Here, we just went right to the floor.
Yep.
Accurate?
Yep.
That's what correct.
Yep.
Yep.
That's exactly right there.
Okay,
But I
good.
saw your hands in front of you and everything.
Good, good, good.
So you have an outside, inside tenchi,
Yep,
rear projection we have.
right?
The, then it's the wrist locks. I think we're all pretty comfortable with wrist locks. Aikyo Tosh, I believe, is the next throw after the tenchis in the system. You didn't find your system?
No.
It's not in there, I thought it was.
Okay.
On your toes.
What about a
Aikyo
ring?
Tosh. where we went in, and you can even
Oh,
grab,
spread them out
grab
here.
pant legs.
Oh, yeah, the pants leg up, yeah.
Yep.
Which you did to me the very first time I ever saw it.
That's
You know,
not
it's
nice.
kinda- No, it wasn't nice. It's like my feet were up here, and then all of a sudden I hit the ground, and I go,
So if we do the Aikido touch off your right, for example, did you do it with a spin? Or did you
No.
just go straight
no, we
into
just
it?
went straight into it.
Okay.
We stepped back and then stretched the boat out.
Yep, okay.
That was one variation. And then the other was where you step back, grab the legs.
That one's nasty.
Did you do that, did you go here and then just go right to there?
Nope,
We just ducked right in.
Oh, you didn't even do this other part?
We just
Just slide in?
we slid right in,
Okay.
and popped them up.
And then the third one was a wheel.
Then third one was the wheel, yeah.
Okay, so that one, okay, coming in, it's here, and then it was here.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
One leg, yeah, they just took them up over.
yeah, it was just a rotation.
Yep.
So that's a wheel spin. So that was, that was our Aikido coaches, and we always did, you know, from the punch, they just worked beautiful.
And I know that's not being taught anymore.
Not really.
Because college is not teaching this because it was nowhere on the requirements. It reminded me of what was being done and what's not there anymore.
Right.
Aikido coaches are
That's not
beautiful,
on.
because on a punch, it just goes so quick, and you know, we're going, oh, sure. And I always said from the bear hug, you can do an Aikido coach, because usually you
Oh,
can get
you
that
can
leg
lean
in
on it.
there, and then
Oh, yeah.
I've used that to get out of, more people grab me from around,
Right.
and you just stance out, and you just bend them right over. So,
No, were you guys doing it off of this? Were you doing it
We're
this
doing
way?
it, we're doing outside readings of that.
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Like from the punch here, we step here, and
that's the one I said was hard to miss.
or you just come in from up here.
That's the
Right.
one we did the most.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then from the inside it would be here.
sure. That's what I was talking about earlier today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you do that really well, and I'm like, I can't fit my body into that position.
Well, and the other one was the mind lead from the punch. Remember that one?
Oh,
Here.
yeah.
And then we'd actually really slow a spin into it with the momentum. And then
So that
of course
was-
we can.
I think that one's missing too.
Really?
I'm gonna find that Shakido stuff. I've got it at home somewhere.
Well, they had the inside one we had a hard time doing from the punch, and he was taking it from here. But now they also had one coming here. And we're supposed to, it was an action like that, but I could never get it. Most of us couldn't get it to work.
Right.
So, and then,
Well, it's odd because you're turning my body with that trap.
yeah,
Turn
here,
So there's not much there to hit unless you're actually turning with this.
yeah, it'd almost be like, yeah, I can see your, yeah, that's a good point, because it almost seems like it's a, you know, it's like, you know, you almost palm heel strike that, but before that, our problem with Mr. Collins was always saying, the guy should go back, so he should hit, and, you know, he should go back or just off to the side a little bit when he struck. It's not a devastating move, he said. He said it's one just to get out of the way. But none of us could sit there. We had to test it, but we couldn't grasp it. We didn't understand it, and
I really like what you just did. You came in with an unifurry and put your head on the floor.
sort of like.
Yeah.
Well, that would be, based on Shakido movement, that would be more accurate to this thing that Collins was trying to do.
It was this. It was that, the whole body was supposed to do this.
Huh. Yeah, that's odd.
And I, okay, but where did that fit the principle? Well, he said, because you entered in, I said this. But nobody could get it.
That's like when you stop and then do the throw.
Right.
Wait a minute.
Or me stopping.
Well, if you can only get it 1 out of 100 times, it's not
So
good.
it's not part of your movement. Oh,
Right.
no. Okay, that's probably one of his little things. Okay.
But I think Soka Ken disregarded that one. I think for a good reason.
Well, I don't remember seeing him do it.
Well, I think one of the
Last
times we
few
ever
times
did
I
it,
was there, we did Shakido, but we didn't do that.
I think he said,
So I think some of that stuff's been removed or whatever.
so that would have been, you had your Remy spin, a Remy mind lead, and a Remy strike, and out.
Well, above the arm and below the
Below the
arm,
arm.
chest or above the arm, yeah.
So you're
that,
kind- You're kind of in your Sumi Toshi.
That's our cut down.
Aikido.
Aikido.
Aikido Toshi.
It's almost Aikido Tosh on that Remy from
Right.
the arm.
Oh, yeah.
So if I'm in that position, I could center down and get pant legs, or I could careen.
Yeah.
Okay.
And from that low, you can come right up
Yep.
on the other side of the head, across the shoulder blade, or scap. What the hell that is.
Yeah, that whole clavicle.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it, and see, was taller, I think he's just a little bit taller than me to be able to crank.
Right.
You know, I had, just like, Gordon Riddle, there's no way I was gonna have him. So, you know, but that's who I had testing and stuff. I had to be able to crank it. And the idea was this and this coming together and then reverse it. Which was still another one of those that was very hard for us to do, depending on the opponent. Shorter guy worked great.
Yeah, right.
The shorter guy can work it.
We'll have to fine tune that, because that's not the proper movement for that. Based on what we've been doing today, that violates the Aikido principle. That movement, what you tried to execute that way. If we did it that way before, then it was wrong.
Yeah, it was coming up here, cranking up and down, same
Yeah.
time. And then,
And then trying to.
and then just trying to move
Yeah,
him.
That's not right. That's wrong.
Right.
Ideally, you're that close to an Aikido toe, so I would just put the leg behind. You
You
know,
need to just be able to straighten your arm out, and they're gone.
Yeah.
You know,
They should be on
proper,
balance.
proper center, proper movement, you'd be able to do that, and they'd be gone. You shouldn't have to rechamber and then try to do a different movement after you've settled in. Because that would, again, that's a position where you get into something, you stop, you give them everything they got. You give all their center back and everything else, and then you try to up into them.
the definition of Rumi Nagi was entering in and reversing the
Reverse, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna enter in, and then, you know, with the mind lead, you're gonna reverse, which is what we did with the mind lead. But with that one, I don't see it reversing.
It will be there if the
When we do,
movement is correct.
when we do it.
Because that's like when you're behind their leg and you do this. Ah, I'm tired, you know, and they're gone. 'Cause their center's here, and you do this, and they're out of center. I'm in center, they're out of center, because their shoulders are way past their hips. The hips can't go past my foot or my leg because it's here.
You get that sound on.
We'll have to work on
Empty
that.
trailers, you can hear it once.
We'll have to work on that.
Well, I know my daughter texted me because she's like motorways, and there's a storm coming.
Oh.
And there's the Amsterdam big one.
The reason we had trouble getting back was some of the towns we came near where we were in Urbana are destroyed. Like, Columbus Grove. The whole downtown is taped off. Nobody can go downtown, cars or on foot. Yeah, and all these houses and cars are smashed by trees. It looks like a war zone. Even some of the streets are torn up because they were already doing construction. So the combination of what they were already doing combined with trees all over the streets, yeah, it really looks like it got bombed.
Our neighbor,
It got wiped out. Mother Nature wiped it out. I didn't hear that there's a tornado, but there are hurricane force winds, because
Big
stuff just got
yeah.
We're talking RVs completely upside down.
Can't even say it. Neat
Talking
joke.
like sheds completely blown off their foundation, roof missing on a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Trucks smashed in by big timber stones. Yeah, I used to live there. I did, yeah. Well, they're building a new school right now. Yeah, and so, or at least adding on or something. So, yeah, so they got all this construction going on, the streets are torn up for plumbing and stuff. So you got all this gravel and torn up concrete and then trees. Yeah, and we really couldn't get out of town. We had to stop and ask directions, and they said, well, just go back down there and take the Brick Street this way and hang a left and get down. Yeah, so we tried, and then the one street we could take to get to Old Route 65, only one street we could take, had 3 rescue vehicles on it. It had like 2 bucket trucks and a big tractor with a blade on the front, and a big tree grabber thing on the back of it. Like, we're not going down that street. So we drove all the way around the whole town to the south side of town and found an alley we could take. And then, yeah, it was really awful. It was really bad.
Our 2 big trees in front,
Yeah.
and then the neighbor had 2 trees. Gone.
City come out.
One of them got busted off,
Ooh.
and it was laying in the street, kind of.
Ah.
And then the one next to it had a couple big branches that got taken out. So the landlord sent some tree people over to say, whether, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
They're gonna take both trees down. They're gonna take those trees down, just cut that part off and let it grow.
Exactly.
Now they're gonna take, so I'm losing part of the shade.
Yeah, that,
I don't like that.
that's right. The Red Sea parts of the
No, sir.
Now, the ideal coach from the staff,
Next level.
Okay.
That's what they start.
come up with from the punch, from here,
I'm pretty excited.
here, a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
And we also, let's see, did you?
Rear projection thermostat, yeah, you can block here and here.
Okay.
From here,
Right.
drag it down.
Yeah.
Inside tension nuggies, all off from either here, the outside's the same way, it comes in here, and it does the same way. I never got tested them
But
too.
your movement's good, because, you know,
Well, it's really kind of.
Right, it puts you there.
Yeah, your defense is, so
Your range
if
nugget,
you use it right, you walk
and then here. You know, so when you make that's when you're right, you're supposed to come here, you gotta wait, and then otherwise they'll run the stick. So you gotta let them see it coming, because man, it does hurt. Then, kite nagi, that's the one I was telling so I was having a hard time remembering. But I think what we did was run it up here.
Well, you know,
Don't
trying
run
to
it.
think of it, looks like you're using it, especially if they
Or was
get.
it this way? Somehow. I was having a hard time remembering how I ended up kite nagi.
Try blocking my punch with that.
Yeah,
Spinning it.
and I yeah, to get it, yeah, I have to get that, I have to have that lock somehow, then I can press it down.
Yep.
I don't know that I think we actually kind of shot it up almost on this.
Hitting stronger method to move to maintain your center. When you watch somebody do it, if you're not totally familiar with the balance and
Yeah.
stuff.
It's been a long time.
It wasn't as tight as the other one.
No, that other one is,
This is where you're starting to move your control
here,
on one.
and then there, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of control to it.
Yeah, it's a spin, and a spin, and a step. Juji always comes with that trap again, that's the way we're.
Right.
Coordinate the muscle and just turn it strong enough so that they can do the lifting and stuff required.
And then the rest of it is really, those are the projections. Projection wrist locks are all done by, if you grab them in,
Right.
I'm just gonna either, one of these pin it, or just ride it down.
Right.
Go to gas, just be pinning.
Yep.
Shionagi was, coming up here.
Okay, yeah.
But I don't remember, we never spun under on the stick, I recall.
Okay.
I think it was, grabbing here, and then grasping you on the first.
Yeah. That would be pretty good.
I know the technique, it's just not my brain isn't telling me what the name is.
Kokunagi.
Kokyunagi.
Kokunagi would, okay.
Yep.
Got it here, spin there, and then this is
Really?
devastating. Bam.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
That one just rolls right there. That one's the chin lifter. So.
Are these written in somewhere?
Well, yes,
Yeah.
they were in my Jukido system, but I think they've been eliminated
Well, they.
because Mr. Collins did not finish the bow stuff that was supposed to be done. He agreed that he would do that, and he would put the sword techniques in for fifth.
Uh-huh.
He never did.
Because
The
the
coach.
Uda and the Sayo, they're really good for both the staff and the sword.
Yes,
Assuming it's supposed to come down.
that's why I trusted that he could do the sword.
Yeah, it's coming in the same way from the outside. Well, there it's gotta go to the neck because the staff's so long.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, we can decide to use a bow or a Joe.
Or Joe, well, Joe would be about that long, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
A little shorter. Or just a club. The club on the kite nagi is one we used to come in and grab and somehow we do an exchange.
Oh,
But because on the club you could do that somehow. But with this one, as Kirk pointed out, is come here. I still didn't do it right. I did it the wrong end.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, so come in here, and see,
Now you pivot back to your right.
and then
Right.
step back, and then guide you down.
Yeah.
And then,
That's why the movements for the stick are very much the same as with the sword, and that's why when he said he would go ahead and put the sword stuff in for fifth, I thought, okay, we don't have to go through that, and he never did. But somewhere along the way, I don't remember seeing the stick, we defend against the stick and all that, but I don't remember with what I was given from Soka Kin, because he had a copy of the requirements. I didn't see this stuff in there.
Right.
between Soka Cam and Mr. Riddle, We should remember the stick. Although I did most of my staff training in Bremen.
Yeah.
Because by then, Soka King was, I think there was a little falling out and something. He was kind of backing away and wanting to do his own thing. So there was
Well, no, at that time, he was working out with Burdine.
Burdine. Yeah.
He was going there so much, and they were, going there every month.
Yeah, and so I was
So
going up
that's
to
why he
Bremen.
wasn't able to, because he had regular classes going then too, and he just didn't have time
And we
to be in Bremen.
spent some time.
I know it's that time we're supposed to be getting back to work.